recording. Who got the contacts in? Can anybody talk to anybody at a Super Bowl party yesterday? I got no withdrawal through text. So. There you go. I love it. Good morning. How are you?
I just put out, this is the spring market starting Super Bowl, and I think that's
What
did it.
I'm going to be posting in about a half hour.
Hey, good morning.
Yeah, 2019. This is kind of cool, you guys. Isn't it so funny that it got warmer? Last night we were watching a game and I was like, give me a blanket. And everyone's like, it's 50 degrees outside. I'm like, it's because it's damp. It's damp. So it almost feels cold. Even the furnace isn't running anymore. Like, it's actually 70 degrees in our house. Oh, how are you? I'm gonna go get my phone, make sure nobody needs me.
Everybody. Is all of us?
Right.
This is some obvious, very attractive being normal real estate agents. Oh my gosh.
Morning.
Morning. Does everyone have all their numbers up to date?
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
All right, we can start in 3 minutes.
I got you. I can't wait for you guys to tell me if Ron actually stays on track and on course, or if he's just going to go off on his run. Which both are wonderful.
No,
Hi, how are you? I'm glad you came. Of course. Ron, the internet has a Super Bowl hangover, just today. That just means that we have to be patient.
Because I'm never patient.
So like, cool. Hi guys, make sure you guys sign in, okay? Thank you, thank you. I see that. I'm super duper proud of you. Told them to report that. I can tell them too, but I told them too. We will have a sponsor coming in.
Okay.
We have to have graduation, so you have to give them that time, okay?
What time do you want to kill?
I will confirm, however, I believe at about 11:30. Yeah. Okay, I didn't press record yet. So yes, we should be, we're gonna have our graduation, sponsor coming in. Big deal.
Everybody gets a Ferrari.
That
Good.
doesn't come for 90 days.
Yes.
That's what I feel like. Activity.
Ferrari comes effective when you do.
I don't know yet. I will be figuring that out once I get back into my office.
I realized I'm in like 5 different Super Bowl things, and I'm like, I never wrote down any of my numbers.
Me
Like,
neither. I'm
well,
just
someone will
waiting.
let me know. if
That's what I
win
said. I
something,
don't
right?
have a clue. I just wait until they come and tell me.
They'll tell me.
I haven't gotten a call yet. So. And then, yeah.
That's what I figured. I didn't see anything on Facebook. Oh, why is it?
Awesome. All right. Well, great. I'm so glad you guys are all here. We had an appointment at 9 o'clock. It is 9:01. So we're going to start right now. Anybody else who wants to come in, raise your hand at this time. So you made it. You made it through all 12 sessions. So proud of you guys for getting here. That's awesome. Couple things we're going to talk about, some housekeeping items. So today is your last session. We're going to do our graduation. Ron Wexler is going to graduate to law school. Everyone will have their certificate and cake to celebrate later. However, we're going to learn the next couple hours some awesome things to get you blasted off into your awesome career. So expectations, action reveals, daily tracker. Let's talk about it. How many people made their contacts yesterday at their Super Bowl party? Couple over here. Like, that's like one of my places, you guys, that I make like a lot of contacts. Whenever I'm in a social situation with people, and it's just talking, having conversations, and sooner or later you get to the real estate stuff. So just make sure you're consistent and always just making mention about your work week. You know, that's all you got to do. Just talk about work, and then it all comes out. So make sure you're doing that. So let's talk about, let me pull up this board, because I want to see, I know that everybody was not entering into the actual electronic tracker. So what I do want to talk about is how many contacts in the database we had. So this is total for January was 612. So that means that 612 people are going to be getting dripped upon over the next 12 months from you, correct? We have to stay in touch. Don't just do all this work for these 12 sessions to get the people in the database to then not talk to them again. We want to make sure that we're touching them 36 times throughout the year, so it's 3 times a month. Any way, shape, or form, handwritten notes, emails, phone calls, all that good stuff, all right? Connections, I love this one, 1,268 connections. Those are the contacts you made, those conversations you had via phone, in person, business to business networking. You want to continue to keep those connections. Remember how I talked about at the beginning, all the way back 12 sessions ago? Like, this is building the foundation, right? Like, this should be the minimum that you're doing every day is these 10 connections a day. If you just focus on 10 connections a day for the rest of your career, you will get places, promise. Notes, handwritten notes, we had 309, so I'm looking at that where we had a lot of connections, but we only had a third, about a quarter, of handwritten notes. You want to make sure that you're writing those notes and keeping in touch with those people. And make it as simple as, it was great talking with you today, hope all is well, have a great spring, talk to you soon. It doesn't have to be some in-depth handwritten note, right? And then home previews, 1,384. We always want to talk about, we have to become home expert. The only way to do that is to do your research and make sure that you know what's going on in that market so that you sound like the expert. So not only be the expert, sound like the expert, okay? So who wants to give me an aha, anything from this daily 10-4 exercise that you guys have been doing for the last 12 sessions? Anybody? Wake up, here we go. Monday morning.
It's always good to put your like little systems in place and have something in mind that you're always striving for. It's like a daily goal.
Mhm.
When you start to practice that, it becomes habit. You just automatically hang up from somebody and think, oh, and you'll want to jot in the note. And hopefully you'll be tracking your progress so you can implement whatever system of tracking that you have.
She said the one word that I want, that's what Ignite is all about, and what this daily 10-4 is all about, is creating the habits of lead generating and making the connections. So that's awesome. Who else wants to say something? Christina, did I hear you want to say?
Yes, well, it got easier for me just to hold people because I was so afraid of falling.
So you got over that in just short few weeks. That's awesome. Anybody else?
Consistency, no matter where you are. They just make it every part of your life. Just talking about it and being consistent.
Consistency, habits, easier. I like this. I like this. Anybody else have anything left to say? No. Well, I am going to turn it right over to Mr. Ron Wexler. He is going to bring you through session 12. He is probably not going to follow these wonderful slides. However,
Do I have a clicker or?
I just use this as a button.
Yeah.
It's my life a lot easier when I do that.
Isn't it amazing that what you just said is what comes right up?
Right.
What a coincidence.
There's no real secret to real estate success. You follow the best models, you implement the best systems, and you commit to the best training. Ignite is the first step on your path to mastery. Mastery. All right.
Okay.
Oh, cool. We're not even gonna watch.
No. I'm gonna be the live video.
You are correct.
Yeah.
I'm being very smart about this, and you find it. Go for it.
Control.
Yep. Yeah, I'll be back in for graduation.
Oh,
Thanks, Ron.
thank you. Appreciate you. You guys appreciate her?
We do. I'll be back for graduation.
So it's interesting because they used to have me teach class 1, and I would scare everybody away from the whole thing. So they're like, well, save it to the end, and then whoever's left, they must have at least been through a few weeks and done it. It's interesting. I was reading through the notes of what we're going to do today, and I think there's some really good things actually that we're going to cover. Obviously, you've all been asked to follow a system, report your numbers, do a certain number every day. So what I thought of, and again, this is part of probably scary part, but my question is this. So you committed to a career in real estate, right? You're not going to find this in your book anywhere. It's me just saying whatever the hell I want. No. So you committed that you're going to take this class for 12 weeks, you're going to learn something, and you're going to implement it, right? And so this is like literally your first test to find out if you're really going to do it or not, right? Was that y'all committed to the daily 10-4. So also, in 36 years, here's the thing I'll tell you. Like, I'm like the biggest screw up in the room, right? Like, I make the most mistakes. I learn from them, and then I make more mistakes. And I just keep upping the level of my mistakes. It's called failing forward. right? And like one of my really good friends out of Colorado, who's one of the top agents on the planet, she used to say, when I fall flat on my face, at least I moved forward, right? And I just love that. She's like, just picture, okay, yeah, you're at least 5 feet further ahead if you fall flat on your face. So right now, to be completely honest with the people that you've been in this class with for 12 weeks, or even more importantly, with yourself, what percentage of what you committed to do in this 12 weeks would you say that you did? Is there anyone here that nailed it? 10-4 minimum every single day, 12 weeks, never missed, exactly every promise you made starting in week 1. You nailed it to the wall. You are a AAA+. You are valedictorian. We're going to march you down the aisle and tell everybody that you are it. You did it. Is there anyone in this room that can tell me? So you're in the right room, right? And when I pick on real estate agents, it's really like everyone. It's human nature. The thing that, when I say that you are now normal real estate agents, I really mean it. And it's really a compliment because you've got to start wherever you start. The reason I've had a ton of success is because I've done more than whatever the minimum was, always. And, if everybody else was making, 50 contacts a week, then I would make 75, right? And if everybody else was practicing their scripts and dialogues 3 times a week with a practice partner, I had 5 practice partners 5 days a week. And sometimes when I was like, all right, I want to nail this listing presentation. Then I got 2 more practice partners and I did 2 more days a week. So the question is, how committed are you? Are you going to play at that level? Or is real estate just a little thing you're going to do? Are you really committed? Are you 100% like, no, I'm in. I'm playing this freaking game. I want to have a 6-figure income. I want to have a 7-figure income at some point. You have to decide, because this was 12 weeks. All right, let me ask you this. You can answer. First of all, do you guys all, you've been in class together, you all know each other pretty well? You trust each other? Are we okay just having real honest conversations? It's okay to say no. I mean, I'm not even being funny, right? I don't know how well you all know each other, right? Here's what I can tell you. I'm still really good friends with 3 of the 4 people that were in my first training class in 1984. Those people, we're still friends. We still talk. We still check in with each other. None of them are here. They're all still in real estate. Actually, not all still in real estate. A couple of them are still in real estate. The other ones are long gone. But those people, we had a really great bond that we had, and especially the first 10 years of our careers. Some of us stayed together. We started at Century 21, and we all went to RE/MAX together, and then we all went to classes together. We got to know each other really well, and it was cool, building that initial relationship and having that grow. If you guys didn't do that for some reason, do it in the next class or do it now or whatever it is. But you've got to have some people that you can just be like, okay, we all sucked. We didn't know what we were doing together. Now we got a little bit better. Isn't this fun watching where we're going? And, I watched it go like this, where at one point one of the people bought a couple of RE/MAX offices. And then, failed at all that and fixed it and got it going again. As an agent, she was a good agent, but then I way surpassed what she was doing as an agent, but I didn't have any interest in owning offices or being a broker or any of that. So when you watch how our careers went, it was really cool. If you make those bonds with people who are moving forward and growing, that's going to help you move forward and grow, right? So let's go back to the initial question. You made a commitment when you started 12 weeks ago. Did you guys all make a commitment, first of all? Did you specifically say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do, all right. So there's some things you committed to. Who would say that they did at least 20% of what they committed to? Who would say they did 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%? Okay. Somewhere between 70 and 90%, I get down to a few of you, right? Okay. So here's the thing I'm going to share with you. If you took our production, so my team did $1.4 million in commissions last year, right? That was our commission income. Our goal was 2.5 million. Anyways, it was way more than what we did, right? If you go back and you look at our daily contact commitment, those two percentages are identical. The amount of income we didn't get and the amount of contacts we said we were gonna make at the beginning of the year were almost the exact thing. Almost like we were off by, I think it was 31% and then 28, or I mean, it was so close, it was ridiculous. And I'm gonna tell you, if you don't get anything else out of everything that you're doing in this class, it is the number of human beings you speak to, and then how good you become at that conversation. That is what's gonna determine, no matter how big you get, no matter what you do, if you do a team or if you stay individual, you do it full-time, part-time, it doesn't really matter. The number of human beings you speak to, and then the quality of those conversations is what's going to determine your income, period. And I can say that without any doubt after 36 years of doing this, that when we're good at it and we are amazing at the scripts and dialogues and we do a lot of it, we make a ton of money. When we're not, we don't. And when I was at RE/MAX, I was like the first guy in the RE/MAXs around here anyways. I was the one at Colosimo. I was the first one to really commit to daily lead generation, where I locked myself in a room for 2.5 hours every single day and made phone calls. And it made it instantly, almost all of us were doing between 3 and 5 million. Like almost the whole office was like 40 agents. We had this, it was good. I mean, if we had, out of 40, I think we had 24 or 25 making over 100,000 a year, which, you know, especially 20 years ago, you know, that, I mean, school teachers are making 18,000 or something, 100 grand a year it's still a lot of money, which is kind of strange. With inflation, you'd think it wouldn't be anything. However, it's still the first goal, right? The first goal is to be a capper, the second goal is to get to 100,000 commissions. That should be all of your first and second goals, right? Once you get to 100, then you start deciding how you're going to build your team and where you're going to go from there. But you should all get close to 100 without even having to have a giant team or any of that, just by your daily lead gen and your database follow-up. You guys with me so far? Does that make sense? So you have to decide, like, I wouldn't leave this class without going back to what I actually committed to and what I actually did, and then seeing what the results were. I think that's really important. We're going to talk a little bit today about just based on what you did, what you committed to, what the results were. So I think that's important. So, you know, we talk a lot about get your head in the game, right? And when you know, the first week you were here, all you focused on was leads, right? And then you went down to the whole thing. So in their mind, as of today, you got this all nailed. You got it down pat. You know how to get leads, appointments, get agreements signed, get contracts signed, and then close. So, if, again, being honest with yourself, if that was you nailed it, and you're going to do 3 to 5 deals a month easily in the next 12 months, in your head, on your piece of paper, in your world, whatever you want to do, what percentage of that would you really say you nailed or paid attention to or understand? And think about that and then think about where you are. The cool thing about real estate is no matter how bad you screw it up, you literally at any moment can just start all over again. It's kind of cool. Like, I mean, I can't tell you many times, like, I would just build it to a certain point, I'd blow the whole thing up, and I'd begin all over. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to do, you know, this many contacts a day instead, and I'm going to focus on, you know, these practice partners. I'm going to focus on, you know, coaching. I was going to focus on certain things when I'm coaching. Certain scripts. I was going to nail the expired script. I was going to continue the expired listings. And then I was like, okay, I'm kicking butt at this. Now I'm going to do the same thing with sale by owners. And then I had a coach who was like, well, I thought your past clients been selling for 5 years. And I was like, I don't like talking to my past clients. That's all I do is complain. And he's like, you're an idiot. And he made me go back to my database, which had at the time like 1,300 people in it that I basically ignored, except for like a mailing and a Christmas card every so often. And he made me call every single person in that database. And the script, I mean, I still remember it. I mean, the script was, you know, I apologize for not keeping up my end of our relationship. You know, I really haven't been keeping up with you guys very well. And I was just wondering if you knew anybody who wanted to buy or sell a home right now, would you feel comfortable sending them my way? And it was pretty eye-opening, because what do you think a lot of people said? Right?
Yes.
A ton of them said yes. A ton of them said, who is this? You know what? I got a lot of disconnected numbers. They already sold their house to someone else, right? It was real eye-opening, and my 1,300 person database went down to like 900. And then I called that 900 people every 90 days for the next probably 10 years. And I mailed to them once a month for the next 10 years. And, you know, to this day, well, Jackie, you were on our team, right? I mean, how many times do you guys say, I can't believe this person's calling you. You sold them a house in 1994 or whatever, right? You're like, how do they even know you? How do they remember you? Well, I pounded them. I called them. And, you know, what's really fun today is, do people answer their phone? No, none of you answer your freaking phone, right? Like, you just like put a voicemail. So I get to have a it would be easier now than when people answered their phone, because people will call me and say, well, you know, we want you to come back and sell our house. You know, you sold us the house 5 years ago, and we love your follow-up. You know, we loved all the conversations we've had. And I look at my notes, like, they never answered the phone once in 5 years. All I did was leave voicemails on their answering machines, right? So that's now it's even better. Like, no one will answer the damn phone. So you get to have a one-way conversation with them. It's great, right? And I'm not saying to go to slide dial or something and leave a recorded message. I'm saying you should have a really good personal script. And be like, you know, hey Susan, you know, I was thinking of you and Bill and just wanted to check in with you. Real estate market's really picking up. Wondering if you know anybody I can help right now. You know, life is good. I'm just wanting to know how much I appreciate you guys. And, you know, if everything's well, here's my number, you know, in case you don't still have it, right? Just something really simple. And that was it. 4 times a year, I would leave some kind of a message. I usually wrote the script in November. I would write the script for the whole year, just what I was going to say, because you know, it's kind of amazing that every year when you get to June, what's coming right after June? July, right? So in June, I would say, hey, 4th of July is almost coming up. It's been a great summer, blah, blah. Do I really need to write that script like June 1st, or can I write it in November when I wrote all my scripts, right? So that was just part of having a system. I would just pull it out and be like, hey, it's Thanksgiving time of year, and you know, this is the time when we really show our appreciation for people who made a difference in our lives. I really appreciate you guys and the business you gave me, blah, blah, blah. Right? So, I mean, I just write all that out and just have it ready to go. Because what a lot of agents do is you get to June 1st, you go, oh, I gotta get my script ready. And then you putz around with it for the whole month of June. And, you know, you get to the middle of June, you're like, oh, no, I'm 2 weeks behind. How am I gonna call everybody before the end of June, blah, blah, blah. Just get all that stuff done. If you're gonna do mailings, write it all. I used to write all the mailings in advance. I mean, I remember like writing all the mailings in November. And I thought it was really funny because I'm writing a mailing for the next November, right? It's like, wow, it was a presidential election year. I was like, wow, that was some crazy election. I don't think people expected those results, blah, blah, blah. It was like all generic. Anything could have happened. They would have got that letter and been, you know, perfectly fine with it. I didn't have to wait. You know, isn't the election always insane? Isn't there always goofy stuff happening? So you can write it all a year in advance. And if there's something specific you feel like you're going to want to address at the moment, then you add in a sentence or take out a sentence, right? You get your scripts, get your mailings, whatever you're going to do, plan it and execute it. I was really good at getting out and pounding the streets and pounding the phones and doing all that. I never did the back end. And so then it's only on the strength of my energy every day. When you set up the back end up front, especially with all the new tools you guys that you have and that are coming with Command and the other things, it's going to be so easy for you. I mean, mine was pieces of paper with the, you know, a picture of, you know, on the copier. I'd take the file, put it on the copier. That's where their name, address, and phone number was. You know, I mean, we didn't have computers at the beginning, right? We didn't have anything like that. They would be on 3x5 cards, and I had to go through a card file. Once we could automate it, it was kind of cool. All right, so before we dive in, I just want to be really clear. Your level of commitment to getting it set up and then setting a schedule and staying on it is going to be directly correlated to the amount of money you make, period. If you're not making what you want, it's not the company's fault, it's not the market, it's not the weather, it will be none of those things. You'll be able to trace back exactly whatever's missing in your business from your personal activities. And just be real clear on that, so there's no mystery. You know, and again, John Davis says there's no secret to real estate success. Follow the best models, implement the best systems, commit to the best training, and of course you're already in probably one of the best classes I've ever seen to get you started. All right, so I think I kind of just shared a day in the life. I don't know if you guys, I thought maybe I'd just give you like 5 minutes for specific questions that you might have about me or being an agent or just like things you've already run into that you're, you know, maybe challenges you're already having. Because I kind of done it all. I mean, I went from 0 and like selling 3 houses my first year or whatever that was. You know, and like just slow. I'm a very slow learner. You know, it just took me a long time to like catch on. Once I catch on and figure out what's going to work, I'm really good at implementing it and doing it. But it takes me a while sometimes. And if you're behind right now, who cares? You know, it's not really. It doesn't have to be cumulative. So if you're behind right now, it doesn't have to be like a life sentence. Okay, so you know, even if you're way behind right now, like you feel like you've accomplished nothing, that's great. You feel like you've accomplished a lot, that's great. It doesn't really matter. Wherever you are, you know, I always talk about like if you live your life like a GPS. Like who has a GPS or has used a GPS? So when you use your GPS and you turn the wrong direction, what does it say?
Make a U-turn.
Right? Make a legal U-turn or redirect you some other route. Does it never say, you're so stupid, I can't believe you turned left. Right? It never does it. It never beats you up for the next 3 weeks. About what you turned left. It never does that. That's kind of how you have to build your career. Because if I went back, I mean, literally, if I made a list of everything that I screwed up, all the mistakes, all the dumb things I did, it's like, and focused on that, I would never get out of the office. You know, it just, you're going to make a ton. The more successful you are, the more mistakes you're going to make. You know why Keller Williams is the biggest real estate company on the planet? Because Gary Keller screwed up more shit than anyone. I'm dead serious. You know, RE/MAX became the biggest company in the world in, I think, 8 or 10 years. Coldwell Banker did it in, you know, 12 or 14 years. Gary Keller, his company's 37 or 38 years old. It took longer than anybody to get where he is. Now, the fact that he did it by learning from his mistakes and then growing and implementing, like we are going to stay the biggest and the best in the world for years to come. Like it's not going to be, you know, RE/MAX had maybe a 15-year reign, I call it. You know, Coldwell Banker was 8 or 10 years before that. Century 21 was maybe 5 to 8 years where they were just by far dominating the #1 on the planet at what they did, right? None of them ever built the foundation the way Gary's built the foundation. And that's what I want for you. You build, like right now, you're as close to 0 as you should be your whole career, right? Because most of you are at the beginning of your careers. Now is the time to make those mistakes and to like figure things out. It's also time to just be nice to yourself and just know that you are going to make mistakes. And however you've treated yourself your whole life about mistakes, you don't do that to yourself in business. Because, you know, most of us, like, you know, your parents taught you by being like, vicious when you make a mistake, right? Like, so, like I luckily didn't grow up in a family where you had to be a student, so it made it easier. But, you know, if your family is always like, you have to be perfect, and I expect perfection from you, and now first of all, is there anyone that's perfect? Right? So if you're going to impose that, that's going to be your standard for you. So you can never, ever, ever feel good about any success you have. That's like total insanity. However, it's what most people do, right? So just be okay with the fact that it's going to take time, and wherever you are is where you are. Just start from wherever you are, no matter what, right? Angela, have you made any mistakes in your career?
Lots.
Right?
Yeah.
And so do you stay there and beat yourself up and let it drag you back, or do you just go, okay, just assess where you are, now I'm going to move forward?
5 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, let's get this over and do it. I've done it again over and over again.
Yeah, and that's what your career is going to be like. You're going to just, and what's fun now is, you know, I'll have somebody from, you know, 30 years ago and say, remember when you blah, blah, blah? I'm like, nope. I have no idea. I don't remember. I'm glad I don't remember. I didn't focus on that. I don't care. You know, I love, there's a quote from, you all know who Martina Navratilova is. So she had this game, and I guess you know, her first serve was this awful serve. And then, you know, she had a nice second serve. And then after the game, the guy was asking her, he goes like, what do you think about when you hit a serve like that? It's just like amazingly awful. He goes, what are you thinking about when you're about to make your next serve? And she said, I'm certainly not thinking about that serve. She's like, I'm done with that serve. I can't have it back. There's nothing to analyze. There's nothing to think about. I already know how to serve right. I'm not going to analyze it. It's just people do it in golf too, like trying to figure out what they're doing wrong. Who gives a crap? Stop doing it and do things right. It just doesn't matter.
And, you know, I just had a conversation with my husband, and I was telling him about, so this morning we were on a call, And I was just saying to him, I was like, you know, I've been in the business for about 16 years. And so joining Keller Williams for me now, I just told him, I was like, I'm forgetting everything that I learned before. You know, I mean, I'm actually starting over, but I feel so good about it. So you're right. You don't have to beat yourself up. All of the stuff I made, like all of those mistakes I made before, I'm like, darn it, I lost all of that money, you know?
But you never had it. So it doesn't really matter,
Exactly.
right? I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I can get to the end of every year and show you exactly what I did during that year that wasn't the commitment I made that put me the exact percentage behind that I was. It's really that simple. And here's the deal. If you're setting big goals, how often do you think you're going to actually get them when you set really big goals? 4% of the time or something. I would set a goal to do 200 transactions and I'd do 110. I'd set a goal to do 200 transactions, I'd do 120. I set a goal to do 200, I'd hit 130. I'd never raise the goal to 500 until I got to the 200 or at least close to it. But I mean, the bottom line is you're going to keep going. And the thing is, when you set that goal and you set the activities you think it's going to take to get to that goal, you don't know what you don't know. So you're going to get to May or June or July and be like, okay, I didn't even realize I have to learn this now. I have to implement that. You didn't even know those things because you were nowhere near figuring that out, right? Like you don't have to figure out how to steal third base, right, until you learn how to hit a double. Like if you're not on second base, who cares how you get to third base? First, you have to learn how to get a base hit and how to get to second base. And so now, when you're standing on third base, do you think you're as good the first time you're trying to, or second base? Do you think you're as good trying to steal third that first time as you're going to be 2 years later when you've been doing it for a while? So, I think it's important because I think a lot of us, we set an expectation that's unattainable. Like a lot of people first year, like, I'm going to make 100,000. I'm like, I'm not going to take that away from you. I'm just going to tell you that the percentage of people in real estate can make 100,000 that first year is very small. So, well, one thing I always ask people is, when was the last time you made 100,000? Well, I've never made 100,000. Okay, what's the most you've ever made? 25,000. Like, all right, well, do you think there's anything you're going to have to learn between that you already mastered making 25,000? You haven't mastered making 100. You think you might have a little bit of a learning curve to make 100. So, and everyone's different. Some people do it really, I made 100 my 5th or 6th year in the business. It took me to get to 100. And of course, the average price of a house then was like 45,000, 70. I don't know. It was a lot more deals than it is today to get there. But the bottom line is, I had set a goal of 100 by the 3rd year, and I was nowhere. I was in 50, 60, 70. And I'm again, compared to the rest of the world, it seemed like a ton of money. But compared to where I wanted to be and the toys I like to buy and the life I want to live, it was nowhere near enough, right? But I didn't quit. And ultimately, that's what I would tell you. The difference between the top producers and the rest of the world is when everybody else is like, I'm just done. I give up. Enough is enough. We're like, no. I've already invested all of this suffering. It's like, now I want that payoff. Most people do all the suffering and quit. And guess what happens when you do that and you go start something new? Do you start where you left off, or do you start at the beginning again?
At the beginning.
Right. That's why people fail at so many things, right? They start, they get to a certain level, it's not where they want to be, they just give up, they quit, and when they go to the next thing, they start at that same level again, and then they have to get all the way back there. And they might have a breakthrough, you might take some of what you learned from this into the next thing, but you're still going to have to start at zero again. So, ultimately, like my thing was, well, why not? I've already paid the price here. Why don't I just stay here and make it work? And it seems kind of stupid to go start doing. And I've had plenty of other opportunities to do other stuff. I made the mistakes in real estate. Why would I take and start and have to make the beginner mistakes at something else? So, stay in the game, keep playing, set up your life so you don't set your expenses so high that you're forced to do something else. Right? I was just messaging with someone I met down in Florida about a month ago. And she's all set up to get in real estate. She's a super salesman she's in pharmaceuticals. She probably would come into real estate and kick butt and be amazing. And she just, right when she was about to pull the trigger, someone offered her something to stay in that field. And she's like, well, maybe I'll do real estate part-time. And she said, our expenses, because she's like the main breadwinner in her family, she's like, our expenses can't afford the 6 months it's gonna take for me to start getting some decent income. So she didn't really set herself up for success, right? If she did jump in, then where would she be in 30, 69 days? She'd be miserable and not paying her bills and whatever. If she did it right, she would have put away enough money that she could, like when I started, like I said, I got married, bought a house, and my wife already had 2 kids, all like in one day, and went into real estate. Like literally, like it was August of that year, and I was living at my parents' house. I was making like 20-some thousand a year, which in those days, for someone living at their parents' house, I mean, I had 3 cars, a motorcycle, boats, snowmobiles, and Club Med trips, money in the bank. Like it was like on 20 grand a year living at your parents' house. Even today you'd probably be fairly rich, depending on, of course we didn't have a cell phone bill or any of that at that time. But it's like when I met my wife, I was like, that was my income, and I quit that business and went into real estate. And so the money I had in the bank, like I had 25 grand in the bank when we met, and I think we were down to like 8 before I started making enough money to pay my bills, right? But I had that reserve, and it wasn't because I was brilliant or figured anything out. I mean, just kind of lucky, but also the Firebird convertible went away, the boat went away, like a lot of toys, were paying rent at some point. So, I had to make some decisions. If you have the reserves or you have the support of someone, if there's 2 of you and the other person's making enough money, don't let your bills keep up with your income or your proposed income. In other words, like live way below whatever that money is. When I was making 100, we still had a hard time funding IRAs, right? 4 grand, right? And, 2,000 for each of us. And then when I was making 150, we still had a hard time. When I was making 200, we were still having a hard time. Like, this is kind of nuts. Like, my income's going like this, but our expenses are staying with them, right? And I had to like back off and be like, no, we don't need to do this. We don't need that. And just like start giving up some of the toys or just being more intelligent about our spending until we got to where now, our income is, 20 or 30 or 40% higher than our expenses. So just know, like at the beginning, you're going to be suffering and it's going to be hard. Maybe you'll be lucky, it won't be lucky, but for most people. When your income starts to flow, don't upgrade your whole lifestyle instantly. Stick with whatever you've been comfortable with, just stick with it for a while and build a war chest. Because that's going to give you, that's where the money's going to come from when the opportunities pop up. When I had a chance to buy Keller Williams office, I could write a check, right? Because I had, finally gained that habit of saving money and not spending every penny that came my way. All right, so is that good enough for the pros of it? All right, so, we talked about, having focus on what we want to do, right? And you guys, now, do you all know what a 411 is? Did we talk about that at all or not?
Yes.
All right, good. So your 411. So, you can get a picture of one that I did. This is where you guys are. All right, so 411 is a productivity and accountability tool. And all it is the 4 is weeks. The 1 is month, and the other 1 is annual. So you have an annual goal, that's 1. You break it down into monthly goals, that's the other 1. And then you break that down into weekly goals. And we are gonna get to a picture of it, this is what it looks like. But this is the form that everyone in our company basically uses to be accountable with their coaches. Colleen has to do one with me. I have to do one with my coach. Tammy does one with me. Tammy does one with the leaders on our team. The leaders on our team do it with everyone else on our team. Everyone has an annual goal and then has monthly and weekly goals so that you know what are you supposed to be doing every day. The biggest mistake top producers make is, we're cranking along, actually beginners too. And all of a sudden you look down and go, oh, it's March. What happened to my plan? Like all the stuff that I said I was going to do. Like I was so busy going on appointments, I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, right? So by actually having something that you're accountable to every week, you don't let the months slip away. All right, so do you guys have a page 17? You have a 411 on your page 17.
18.
18. Let's see why. All right, so it says create your 411 worksheet, but honestly, I don't think we're going to take a real lot of time to do that. But let's do this. Everybody take one goal that you have for the next 12 months. And we're going to play with this. There's clean copies of this, and you'll be able to get this off. So don't worry about scribbling on it. On the one in front of you, let's take one of your goals and write it down. Your annual goal. What's one thing you want to accomplish this year? Your income goal. Probably should just be your income goal. It could be a lot of different things, I guess. But just one goal. All right. So you did exercise the first week, right? Where you did your income goal and then you broke it down and figured out how many contacts you needed to get to it and all that. You guys remember that? That was a long, long time ago. All right. So let's take that goal and let's work it onto a 401. So take your annual income goal, break it into 12 months. So divide it by 12 months. Then break that into weekly goals, divided by 4. Everybody do it. All right, so if your goal was 40,000, that would be 3,300 a month, right? Which would be 830. You guys with me so far? Is my math okay? So now what you would do is work that backwards through the formula to figure out how many contracts you needed to hit those goals, how many contacts you needed to get that many contracts. And you could boil it all the way down to your daily activity. So that's what when you figure out, when you fill out your 411, what you're going to want on there is that here, everybody go to the page that shows the 411. Because I'll have that picture, right? So once you know your annual income goal and you work it back to contacts, then you're going to do your daily activity goal, right, or weekly activity goal. So just look where it says weekly goals, week 1. it says, weekly goal, and this was the original thing that we started with, right? Preview 10, add 50, write 50, call 10, go on 4 listing appointments, go on 4 buyer appointments, right? That would be the weekly goal to hit that original goal that we talked about as what we were hoping for, or what we want the minimum to be. So does that make sense so far? Mm-hmm. So now if you know that you want to make $833 a week, okay, so that's the overall goal. Now it's what is the weekly activity, and then breaking it down to the daily activity. Does that make sense so far? All right, so if we're gonna let's just for the fun of it, assume that the 40, to make this amount of money, the 833 happens to work out exactly to the daily 10 for. Okay? Let's just assume that your contacts needed every day, right? It's 50 contacts a week to make this, to do this. There's a lot of other things that you may not be seeing, your skills, scripts, who you're calling. You're going to get a lot better response calling expireds than you are calling your personal database or cold calling as far as instant response. However, you're going to end up having to talk to, less expireds to get to it, but you're going to spend more time finding those expireds. Because if I cold call, I can just call every single phone number in the phone book. Instead of phone book. Every single phone number I can find to my database. And I'm going to get more answers because I'll be able to call more per hour. With the expireds, you're going to call less per hour, and the conversations are probably going to be different / longer. So there's a lot of factors that will come into it. But the bottom line is, if you have a 411, at the end of every week, you can sit down with somebody, or at the beginning of the week, you can sit down with someone and say, last week my plan was that I was going to preview 10 properties. And then they would say, how many did you preview? I previewed 6. Okay, so we have a choice. Are you going to lower your goal, or are you going to move the 4 that you missed to next week? Same with contacts. You're going to talk to 10 people a day. So that's 50 per week. You talk to 70. Okay, does that mean you're taking a day off next week, or does that mean you're pushing to get ahead of your goal? You talk to 40. All right, does that mean you're subtracting from your goal, or are you going to move those people and spread them out? What I'll tell you is it's a lot like working out when it comes to daily contacts. You're never going to get caught up. I don't care what anybody says. You're not going to get caught up. So you either do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, or assume that you're never going to get there. And like what I would do is, if I didn't hit my goal by the end of the week, a lot of times I would just do a Saturday, right? And the truth is, it never worked, and I never got caught up because I never wanted to work on the weekends. Mm-hmm. I obviously did for the first so many years. But at the point where I was done working weekends, when I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll go work Saturday, it never worked out. Because I wasn't supposed to be there. I was just supposed to be home with my kids. However, when I was in the office and I was supposed to be working, I wasn't necessarily working, right? So if you set a plan, have integrity with yourself. Say, don't commit to do something if you're not going to do it. And if you do commit to do something, do it. So if you say, I'm going to talk to 50 people every week, and then you don't, then decide where's the disconnect. Do you understand that 50 people a week is the convertible that you want? It is the vacation you want. It is the money you want to give to your church. It is the things you want to do for your family. It's the security that you want. It's funding your SEP or IRA. It's going to Shaw's for brunch, paying $70 and not wincing at it. It's $70 a person for the day. It's like, whatever that money's going to do, understand that when you don't do the activities, you're basically blowing off something. That you can't get to the end of the month or whatever and be 40% behind in your goals and complain that you don't have any money. Either you did what you said you were going to do or you didn't. And if you didn't, then it's your responsibility. And again, that's the moment when, like Angela said, she gives herself 5 minutes to beat herself up, right? I mean, fine, I screwed it up, I blew it, whatever. Good thing I'm going to live to be 125. I've got plenty of time to get it right. I'm starting where I am right now. Right?
That's my number.
Mine was always 112. And then when my father died, and we go to the cemetery to bury him, and I looked at how old he was when he died, and I looked at how old his father was when he died, And
Really scary.
one, it scared the crap out of me because my grandfather died at 65, my dad died at 66. And I'm like, my plan goes to 112. I either have to double my activity, or I gotta get all this stuff way faster, or I gotta do something about my, like, it really freaked me out a lot, right? And of course, that's like, that happened when I was in my 30s. So now that I'm almost 60, I do think about it all the time, right? Like, I feel like if I make it past 66, I'll live forever. Like, I have no doubt that I'll just, that I beat whatever that is that they can beat. But the bottom line is you're going to be around a long time. Set your goals, stick to your goals, have a 411, do it with your productivity coach or whoever you're being accountable to. Stick to it. Add whatever you missed to the next week or whatever when you can, but honestly know that you're probably never going to make it up. And so once you get behind like 30 days or 45 days, just understand you're almost better off just going to your goal and saying, well, there's two things you can do. You can go to your skills and work heavily on your skills to get your numbers up. So in other words, if your conversion rate suddenly goes from 1 out of 50 to 1 out of 20, that will get you back on track pretty darn fast. It's much harder to go make 70 contacts in the same amount of time you have been making 30. So, the skills is one way you make up for your screw-ups, but even that only takes you so far because you're not going to get to 1-to-1, right? It's still going to be only 1 out of every so many contacts. So this is kind of the advanced class. Are you guys with me or am I?
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking to you like you've been in business 20 years, you know what I'm talking about. So, all right. So the 411 is important, and I don't really want to spend a lot of time like teaching you the 411, but I just want you to understand that from what I've shared, you get the gist of what it is and how it works. All right. Here's how I know that the 411 is really important. You guys all know who Diana Kokoska is at this point?
Yeah.
So she created a class Bold that we do. She runs Keller Williams' entire MAPS coaching program for the whole company, right? She's the president of that division. She's also our business partner in this office. She's one of the owners of this office, and she and I are business partners in a couple of different things. And I was at the international office when she first started working, because she had been an agent, then a team leader, operating. She had just about every job. And right when we launched the 2 offices we started together, she took this job at international. And I was there helping her one night because Mega Camp was starting, and she was supposedly had this productivity coaching book that she was going to present to the whole company on stage the next day. So it's about midnight, and I'm at international typing, the manual she's supposedly had ready for the next day to present to the whole company. I was helping her get it all together, working on scripts with her and stuff. And I see her with a 411 in her hand. And I said, what are you doing with that? She goes, I have to put it under Mark Willis, who's the CEO at the time. She goes, I have to put it under Mark Willis's door because I meet with him tomorrow to do my 411. I'm like, you're doing a 411? She goes, everybody in this building does a 411. It doesn't matter if you're the chairman of the board, the CEO, everybody does a 411. And that's how Gary figured out how to build the company that we have, right? Is that everyone's accountable for whatever they say they're going to do. The cool thing as an agent is you get to decide what's on that 411, right? So you can have like really high, expansive, insane goals, and you can have little baby wimpy goals, and it's all okay because it's whatever fits your life at that moment, right? And I'm not saying baby wimpy like being mean. I'm just saying, like right now, you might have so much else going on that you're only going to give real estate 10 hours a month. Well, at 10 hours a month, your goal can't be the same as someone who's like, I'm going to do 50 hours a week, right? I mean, most of the top producers, when you talk to them, at the beginning, they, we were all doing like 70 hours a week, whatever. I don't know, whatever the most hours you could possibly do, but like, 10, 11 hour days times, at least 6 days, sometimes 7. So if you don't have that much time to give, then don't write the same goals as the person sitting next to you who's going to do 70 hours a week. Just be real. Just be real with yourself. And don't, realtors tend to, look at, like, we're in a class, and I'd say, like, what's your income goal? And you'd say 100,000. I'd say, what's your income goal? You go 90,000. I ask, what's your income goal? 95,000. What's your income goal? 100,000. And we get to Jackie, and her goal is 60,000. But she's like, well, screw that. I'm going to say 100,000, right? And that's what we tend to do. Like, we look at people around us, and we, we keep upping our thing. No, you're an individual business. Stick to what your goal is. What's going to get you where you want to be? I don't expect Angela or Jackie, else is here. Some of the people who've been around longer to have the same goal as somebody who just got their license 6 weeks ago, right? So don't worry about what someone else might have in their 401. Put something real on your 401 and actually accomplish it.
If I can add to that, Ron, I just say, everyone has their own race. Whatever your race is, stick to that's your race. You don't have to look around at everyone, because at that point we start looking around, you get like, you're not focused anymore, and you're looking at what they're doing, and you don't know what they're doing, what their goals are. So just whatever your race is, run your race.
Yeah, it's so, when there's a marathon, right? It's like every person who finishes the marathon won, right? But you have a couple Kenyan guys at the beginning of the front. But I mean, once you get past that, everybody won, right? Everybody set a goal and accomplished. They finished the race, right? Your race is your race, and I think a lot of us, like, we think our race is how good I did compared to someone else. And like I remember one time when I started really doing well when I was at this Remax office, and we were all super competitive people. And this is when I first finally figured this out. The owner, like, he knew that he could goose us by saying, he came up to me, he goes, hey, Bruce did blah, blah, blah last month, and you only did blah, blah, blah. And it was the first time that I thought, I don't give a crap what Bruce did. It was the first time I ever realized it. And I just said to him, his name was Mike, I was like, Mike, I have to tell you the truth. I honestly don't care if Bruce never sold a house the rest of his life or sold 50 million times more houses than I sell. I said, you've seen my business plan? Nowhere in my business plan does it say anything about Bruce or his family or his income. Like, I really don't care. It was the first time I realized that, and it was like, it was so free, right? To realize. Now, here's the thing. Was I always one of the top people? Of course I was, because I set really high goals for myself. And I, same thing with, we're the biggest KW office in Northern Illinois. You think that's an accident, or you think I'm a little competitive, right? So, however, if someone else suddenly passed us by, I wouldn't change my game plan or what I'm doing. I would just be, I would stay to my plan to get where I want to be, right? The fact is, I like to set really high goals and push myself, push people around me. At the same time, I really don't care what other people are doing. So, it's kind of the dichotomy of I'm setting really high goals for me, for my team, for us to win, and for us to kick butt. And at the same time, suddenly somebody else just blows our doors off. I really don't care. It's not that important, right? So, all right, so go to page. All right, so it's 21 on the thing I'm looking at. All right, so those of you who have been keeping your numbers, to this page right here, there's 6 questions that you can answer. You have 6 questions in front of you. What wins have you experienced the last 12 weeks? So look at your numbers, or just think about the last 12 weeks. Answer these 6 questions. let's start with number one. So again, this is what you guys share. What are some of the wins you've experienced in the last 4 weeks? Share. Who doesn't want to share?
I negotiated, my second contract, to pay below the asking price. That was a win.
That's awesome. It's a win for your client too. Who else? Does anyone did not experience any wins in the last 4 weeks? Zero. None.
No,
Zero.
I got one.
Okay, good. Somebody raise your hand and share one.
I got one.
I hear doing it. I'm not. I got a contract on one of my listings and we made it through the home inspection. I'm working on 4 new buyers getting pre-approved. One of them is pre-approved. Took them out last week and we're gonna write today. I took a list of pre-listing. I never really considered, I learned that in class about taking pre-listing. So I dated, but then go back to that. She's ready. She said May, but now it's going up to April, maybe March. So, and I got a referral last night. I sent on Facebook, I put a, spring market, Super Bowl, whatever. And one of my clients who I sold to 3 years ago referred her aunt to me who wants to sell her house. And so that was all via text while I'm watching the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Great. Sounds like a bunch of good wins in 4 weeks. Awesome. All right, who else was that in there?
Just from calling my database, I reconnected with my database. I got a listing, found out my sister wanted to sell her house and move to Lubbock, Texas. And I wouldn't have known if I hadn't have called her.
Right?
And
You would have found out eventually.
yeah. and with thank you cards that I'm sending out, I'm getting feedback from that. And I got a referral 2 days ago.
So it's amazing, right? With the activities comes results. When you're not doing the activities, then it's just happens.
Oh, I won a bidding war last night, using the escalation clause.
Nice.
During the Super Bowl.
Nice. A lot of real estate was sold.
It was hard, yeah.
Something was happening.
Yeah.
All right, who else over this way? In that little corner over there. You know what being voluntold is? You know, when you volunteer, that's when you choose to do it. Voluntold is when someone just picks, points at you and goes, come on, let's hear it. Right? All right, so somebody back over there. Did any of you have wins? Okay, go ahead, let's hear it.
My experience is the whole, my concept of the whole Keller Williams experience, because this is my first time around. And I've had my license for about 3 years. However, I find myself only just becoming a broker. And I do have some leads, and that may turn into something, but I haven't bought or sold it. But I mean, I feel like my understanding of how to get it done is very, very clear. And it's not, I have to do it around. So it just feels like a win.
So probably it's funny. We just had a class over in Oklahoma on Friday, and at the end of the class, I just kept saying the word action, right? And so a lot of us, if you're not a type A driver personality where you're just gonna learn it, go do it, make mistakes, don't care if everybody tells you go to hell, blah blah blah, just go out and just crank it. If you're not that behavioral style, which is only 5% of us on the planet, the other 95% won't. There's the thing. I'd rather tame a lion and teach a lamb to kill, right? But in real estate, what's cool is the lambs sometimes end up being the best agents because they take the time to learn it. The thing is, you're never going to do it so well practicing that you're going to be able to go out and make a great living. You're going to have to go do it with human beings that aren't on a piece of paper or some safe environment. You're going to have to go do it in public and screw it up and say dumb stuff. And, you're just gonna have to take that chance. And again, I've never been like the A+ worried about like looking good. It's just never been a big thing for me. And so it was okay for me to like literally just take a phone book and start dialing people in the phone book and having half of them go like, what kind of weirdo call? Like I just call them, hey, I'm with Century 21 and I, just calling every neighborhood to find out who wants to buy or sell a house. Like that was my entire script. And I just like someone just handed me a phone book and I just sat and did that for a whole day and everybody in the whole office just looked at me like, he's actually doing what we're supposed to do. None of us, veterans would never do that. And I realized at some point, it's like, well, that action is going to overcome my inexperience, like my lack of skill and all that. And then I started working on my skill. At the beginning, it was just like, believe me, if you suck and you talk to 100 people, you're going to do better than somebody who's amazing and talks to 3. I don't care what anybody says. So just go out and get a lot of rejection. Go out and do it wrong a lot. And eventually, unless you're like really dense, as you do it wrong, you figure out how to do it right. Right? You'd be like, okay, I'll never say those words again. I got this response, and just stop doing whatever that thing was, and just keep getting better at it. So what I'd say, based on what you said, is don't be afraid to do the action. Don't worry about how you look. People. One thing that used to kind of surprise me is people would say, you're actually calling your clients and asking them for business? Like, I would never do that. There's no dignity in that. I'm above that. I was like, well, what the hell are you talking about? Like you're a salesman. You're supposed to sell. And if you're calling your past clients and asking how they're doing and checking in with them, and wouldn't a natural part of the conversation be, as a salesperson, who else do you know that I can help? Why is that some, terrible, like, do I not have a nice enough suit? Or, like, I just never understood it. But, like, there were so many people doing so much less than me that like felt like what I was doing was beneath their dignity or something. And it's like, just throw all that crap away. If you're standing in line at the grocery store, there's someone in front of you and there's someone behind you. That's 2 conversations you should have every time you go in a grocery store the rest of your life. There's a guy at the deli counter or whatever, every person you talk to. Here's the thing, what's cool about real estate? It's not life insurance. My dad sold life insurance, right? It's not carpet cleaning. It's not ductwork cleaning, right? It's not. Don't for a minute equate it with those things. People love to talk about real estate. You're in the coolest, except for maybe talking about like new babies or something. Real estate is right up there at the top of what people love to talk about. So it's how many? I know you've all experienced this, most of you already, right? Have you been sitting in a restaurant since you started this class and heard someone around you start talking about real estate? Or at a party, right? Have you noticed they never talk about ductwork cleaning? They never talk about right? They don't talk about life insurance. So you're in the business everybody wants to talk about. What is the most reality TV shows about?
Real estate.
Fixer upper.
Right? There's so many damn, and they're all fake, but there's so many of those shows. It's hysterical, right? And so understand, you're not a telemarketer. You're not a cold caller. You're someone who's in the business everyone wants to talk about. Call with that mindset. Talk to people in line at the grocery store with that mindset. It's fine. I mean, I wore my little Century 21 and my Remax name tag for years. I probably find it still somewhere. But I mean, I wore them for years. Everywhere I went, I didn't care. The signs, I mean, I can picture this 69 Firebird convertible I restored, right? This beautiful car. Like it should be in a museum somewhere now. I hope it is. And I mean, I have a Century 21 magnet on the side of it, I think how funny that looks on this classic car. But it's like, that's how into it I was. I didn't care. I wanted the world to know I was in real estate. And people love to talk about it. And the truth is, it doesn't mean you lead with that, right? You don't turn the person behind you in the grocery line and go, "Want to buy a house?" You just go, "Hey, I met you before. Where are you from?" And instantly, you'll get to real estate. You'll get there so fast. It's not even fun.
So this is my 5th week with Elder Williams and my 5th week as agent. It's funny that you're saying it. So I went to buy my balloons for my first open house that I just did. And I was running a little late and it was crazy on it. It was cold and snow all over the place. So I just want to get the balloons and get the hell out of there and get to my open house. I remember I'm supposed to tell this cashier that I'm a real estate agent. And So I did it. She's like, get out of here. I just got approved, and I'm looking for an agent, and that's how I got my first contract signed. Wow. So I know that we do not do our billing sample like we are supposed to, but like every time that I do reach out to people and I remember that I have to do it, I get leads. So whenever you can and you have the time, reach out to anybody that you can, and it works.
Commit to it though. Whatever your number is, commit to it. You know, I did a thing at one point where I did pennies. And it was 20 contacts a day. I put 20 pennies in my right pocket. Every time I talked to anyone anywhere, I moved it from my right pocket to my left, and I wouldn't go home until those 20 pennies moved. That's how I started developing the habit. Like, play a game with yourself. Figure out how you're going to develop the habit. Because it's not natural, right? You standing like a grocery store, especially now, what are we doing? Right? We're not even looking at the people around us anymore. So, you know, now, and there's a million conversation starters. I mean, I don't know, I just made it fun. You know, like, you look at their grocery cart and go, oh my God, how many TV dinners can you be buying? You know, what do you have, like 30 kids? You know, yeah, you need a bigger house, you know, right? So, start conversations with people. Stop being a secret agent. Go out there and do it, and it counts towards your 10. There's nothing, yes, you should sit down and systematically go door knock 10 houses or call 10 people or whatever your number is. However, if you're not doing that, you should be getting those numbers somewhere, right? I mean, I did it at Little League, I did it at Indian Guys, I did it playing volleyball, softball, you know, baseball, whatever. I just made sure, like, you know, I was just in Arizona for the Cubs fantasy camp. I've been going for like 16 years. There's a doctor there who I referred down to Florida, and he bought like an $800,000 house. I got like a $2,500 referral fee. One of the old Cub players, I mean, in fact, he's getting into real estate, and I'm going to get him to join Keller Williams, right? But I referred him, his house sold for almost $1 million in Arizona. And, you know, that was a, whatever referral fee, I forgot, it was like $4,000. That paid for the whole week of being in Arizona. Like, when I'm there, I'm always, you know, we run into the sports store because we need, you know, a new bid or whatever, you know, or a shirt or whatever. Like, I'm talking to everybody everywhere. I don't care if I'm on vacation or I'm here or whatever. It just always comes into the conversations somehow miraculously, right? And there's always stuff. And the other thing is, I'm bringing people, you know, Keller Williams, we get profit share, right? Did you talk about profit share at all? I mean, my profit share this year is over $50,000, right? And a lot of people in my profit share I have never met. And other ones, like one of my favorite ones is this guy in Salt Lake City, Utah, and he was on some page on Facebook, and he said something about, you know, I hate my job, and I was like, have you thought about this? He goes, I always, that's the other thing. And you've been around long enough, right? Don't people always say, I thought about selling real estate?
My sister.
Everybody.
Will be on a team.
Yeah. People always say that. I thought about getting into real estate. It doesn't matter if they're like a garbage man or a brain surgeon, right? Like this guy, this Cubs player, he was a pitcher for the Mets and Cubs. He was the general manager of the Cubs. He's currently the pitching coach for a minor league team in like upstate New York, right? And he's going to get into, and he has a law degree. He's going to get into real estate, right? If I hadn't had the initial conversations with him, and then in that Cubs camp, you know, there's a core of like 40 people that are there every year, and then there's another 40 that are, you know, once in a lifetime people. But the coaches are always the same. He tells all the other coaches, well, what do you think about selling your house? Cool. Ron got my house sold, blah, blah, blah. You know, I never saw his house. I just referred him to an agent, right? But I got paid for that. Don't be a secret agent. It's a really dumb business. You know, some, like, real secret agents need to stay secret. We need to be known. You need to be known. Get out there and talk to people. All right. What opportunities for improvement have you encountered? What have you noticed that you're, like, where you're just not really having a lot of integrity or you need to improve?
Time management.
That's great. You know, it's not really time management. You want some input on that?
Sure.
It's just setting a schedule and keeping it. Yeah. It's really simple. That's why we do the 411. That's why we do a daily schedule. Don't do your weekly schedule. I mean, do your weekly schedule, but then just focus on the day and then focus on the hour. All I knew was between 8:30 and 11 every day, I needed to talk to people. and you couldn't interrupt me, you couldn't come into my office and talk to me. That was it. I mastered the morning, and then the rest of the day took care of itself. So pick one piece. Just pick one piece and stick to it. And the time thing is, the schedule, everyone has the hardest time with it because did you get into real estate so you could follow a schedule? Let's be honest. It's like, hell no, right? Like I got into real estate so that they couldn't tell me I had to come and work on Saturdays anymore. I wanted to water ski, right? And so I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it. First thing I got in real estate was like, I didn't have Saturday or Sunday anymore, you know, right? But if you tie your schedule to the results that you're looking for, to the life that you want to live, it'll be very easy to stick to your schedule. When you realize that if you had committed 60 minutes to lead generation, that when you only do 30 and you wanted to buy a brand new car, you're now qualifying for a used car, right? You're taking something away. You want to take your kids to Disney World and stay on the grounds and fly there first class and do limos all the way and all that. The minute you don't do whatever your goal was for those hours you were supposed to be doing it, you're going to stay out in one of the suburbs in Kissimmee or something, and you're going to be renting a minivan that like a Hyundai minivan or something. It's going to be 20 years old and have rust. No, like you're every time you don't do what you said you're going to do, you're subtracting something from your goals. Now tie that all together. Now say, do I have a time management problem or do I have a commitment problem? I'm obviously not really. Do you have kids?
No, I do, but they're out of the house.
Okay, so when you have little kids, it's really easy. You just say to your kid, we're going to go to Disney World if I talk to 20 people every day. What do you think is the first question you're going to ask when you walk in the door?
Talk to 20 people today, Mom?
They will hold you so accountable. It's ridiculous, right? So do that for yourself. Set the goal so high. Like I've had like, I don't know, there's very few toys I want, except for a plane, that I haven't had, right? And at the beginning, like I bought like a used boat, and then, then I was work my way up, and now I have a really nice boat. And like each thing, I just like work my way up to whatever toy I want. Like our vacations, like when we fly, almost always first class now. Like I just like wanted to upgrade everything, When we were at Cubs camp, my nephew goes, so it's my brother, my nephew, and I would go and we play baseball for a week. My nephew's like, what's the deal? Because we had, and it was actually nice, but we had like a Toyota 4Runner or something for our rental car. And like a few of the years, I did like a BMW or a Mercedes for our rental car, like an SUV, like really nice ones. And I'm like, I don't know, it wasn't that important to me this year, and I didn't want to spend the money. It's like, come on, could I get stuck paying for a rental car? But it's just funny, like I get to upgrade my life and my lifestyle, right? But does that come because I said I want it or because I'm doing the activities? So your schedule is the first thing you have to master. You got to get good at it. Master 30 minutes a day first. Pick one 30-minute period, and it's got to be a lead generation period. Pick 30 minutes and do that every single day. Start building that consistency habit. All right, so let's cover a couple ways. What kind of leads are you getting? Seller, buyer? What about the quality of the leads you've been getting? How quickly are you able to convert them to an appointment? So who can just share something about the leads that they're getting? Who else? Jack?
So I think for as far as nurtures, I've probably in the last month had the best success with the database and reconnecting with my database and like 4 people that are like, oh, we're going to buy or sell in the next year. One that's going to do a buy and sell in April that I've already sent to a lender and to get them so they know which house they can upgrade to. And for sale by owners are kind of my best nurtures. And then for best appointments has been expired and people that I met at an expo that we did at the beginning of the month. I mean, we did an expo, I went on a listing appointment that week and we're going to list the house in another month. So, just in watching where those leads are coming from, where I'm having the most successful line.
I just got one in just now looking at my phone. This lady just texted me and said she wants to purchase. She got my number from 2 people that I sent the note cards to. So both of them recommended me. So she's like, well, they both gave your name. So it's amazing because I had just sent these people the note cards like last week. And so they didn't do anything, but they gave my number to her. So I'll call her after class.
I used to love, like, I would send out just listed, postcards. And then I get a call from some guy in Ohio. Like, about the house, and like, how did you get the postcard? Well, I was interviewing for this job in Chicago, I'm moving there, and the guy handed it to me. I'm like, oh, who's the guy? And like, I figured out like, that guy that worked at some company downtown in HR or whatever, and I had mailed that postcard to his house. He knew he had this guy coming in. He's like, hey, here's the guy that's acting in our neighborhood. You should probably talk to him about the house. Right? So you don't know where it's going to end up. It's also why you want to make sure the quality, if you're going to send something, make sure it's like halfway decent quality. But yeah, you don't know where it's going to end up. And it has a tiny bit of shelf life. I mean, understand 90% of anything we're mailing is the same place that it's junk mail. If you think your mail is like special, you're totally wrong. It's still junk mail. But just be okay with that, that's part of that process. It's the other 5 or 10%, what happens to that, that's all that really matters anyways. All right, as CEO of you, rate your performance. Usually a scale from 1 to 5. So we already kind of talked about this, right? Is there anyone here that just, they are 10 out of 10? We're in the right one. We have to say on that. All right, so what are you going to do differently? Like, from the lessons you've learned, what are you going to change? What commitment are you going to make? What are you going to do that you haven't been doing? Or what do you do better that you haven't?
I'll use an example for like showings. I used to let them just, pick a million homes. Well, this is for a rental I did yesterday. I'll just use an example. And I'll let them pick a million homes and like, let's go see them. But now I'm like, okay, top 3 to 5. And we're going to go and look at those today, but we're not going to do 15 today. And then, so yesterday we did 3 and she picked 1 and she applied for it. So, and it looks like it'll be good to go through. So it's like, and that only took me maybe an hour and a half of time. So that was way better than spending a whole day and just wasting time.
Right. So if you qualify people and you know what they want, and then they send you over 20 listings, you go through the 20 listings sitting in the comfort of your own home, and you say, listen, I went through those 20, there's 3 that are amazing, and I don't want to waste your time with the other 17. In fact, my biggest concern is you're probably going to like more than one. We're going to have to probably really have a hard time deciding which one you want. Now go show houses or rentals with that mindset versus the whole world's available. I can go look at 20 and then there's going to be 20 more and there's going to be 20 more and there's going to be 20 more. No, we've already sifted through every possible property on the planet Earth, and one of these 3 is your perfect home. My biggest concern is you're going to want more than one of them. We're going to have to figure out how to decide which one out of the 3 you should buy. Go with that mindset. Give them that mindset, you have that mindset. All right, so let's. I love a couple success stories. Let's hear a couple more.
So I was talking about time management. So I have found myself making calls at night if I am not able to get them in during the day. So making calls, and I post a lot on Facebook. So I've gotten a couple of my friends that I are just friends on Facebook, but have reached out to me. So I've gotten 2 leads that way. And then this past weekend I hosted an open house and I had it all over Facebook. And I had 2 people reach out to me just from my posts on Facebook, and I'll have to nurture them. They're not ready tomorrow, but they're potential leads. So, I'm
just be really clear that most of your marketing is not to actually sell the property you're marketing. Your open house is almost never going to sell the house that you're sitting in. It's to generate more people for you to help, for you to work with. Because to me, they're lost souls wandering around the open houses. They need a great agent to go find them. Right? So just get that. Except for maybe a nosy neighbor who's going to sell 5 years from now. Most of the people that show up in an open house, I mean, they're just wandering. They're poor lost souls. They need you to take them, nurture them, and help them get what they want. And the odds of them buying the house they show up at, I don't know. I actually did it based on NAR numbers once a long time ago, and it was 1 in 400 that people actually walked into an open house and bought it. So, and at that time I was using the statistics so I would never have to do an open house. And I used to tell it because I thought they were a waste of time because we didn't do it the way we do them now. And I remember saying to the seller, so I either have to hold your house open 400 times because only 1 or 2 people show up every week, right? Or I have to have 400 open houses and I'm going to get 1 buyer to buy 1 house from those 400, right? And when I explained it to the sellers, that was my way of not doing open houses. Then, of course, you just turn it the other way around when you do it. And, you know, now we do so much marketing beforehand. I don't know if you guys realize this, but you know, all those great things they told you to do before you do an open house, right? The door knocking, the calls, all that. I don't want to, this is a trade secret, but that's actually lead generation.
It works.
Of course it does.
It works.
It's not about selling that house, it's about meeting human beings.
Mhm.
That's all that is. That's what all this is. That's what having successful businesses.
Brent, I also want to add too, I had an open house, I had one this past week, but I had an open house last week and I had a young man, and it was one of the coldest weekends we've had. I only had the one young man come through, but I spent a lot of time with him, just kind of talking with him, explaining the process, blah, 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 right? And so I followed up with him, and he said to me that he absolutely wants to work with me as his buyer agent. That he went to an open house after seeing me, and when he walked in, the two ladies that were hosting the open house seemed to be more interested in eating their cookies than they were to spending time with him. So he said, you know, just your professionalism and the fact that you spent so much time, you know, meant a lot. So, and I also want to just add that I had the mindset over this past year before I started with Keller and Williams, as soon as somebody walks in the door, get them to sign in. Yeah, I mean, I did. I just thought that was the most respectful and way to do it. But this whole idea of just being laid back and walk around the house and, oh, by the way, could you sign in? Oh my gosh, what a difference. And their whole body language, their whole, you know, the whole way they act while you're taking them through the house.
You know, I grew up working in a stereo store, and people would come in, and the other salesmen would like run right up to me, like, you know, can I help you? What can I help you with? You know, what can I show you? And I would just walk up and say hi, and I would just stand there and not say anything else. And of course, like they were so used to, like we're all used to, right? You walk in the store and it's like, well, now probably nobody waits on you. But in those days, people would come and try and wait on you or sell you something, and people would just like, I think they were just refreshed, right? They were just like, wow, like I would just say, oh hi, and I just stand back and just not say another word. They go, oh, hey, we're here to look at the blah, 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 right? They would tell me what they wanted. Or someone would still say, we're just looking. And I'd be, oh, yeah, no, I was just welcome you to the store. You know, what were you looking for? Right? And I just go right into asking the questions anyway. And they wouldn't realize that I was doing the same thing everyone else does because of that approach. It doesn't mean be a wimp. It doesn't mean don't talk to people. It doesn't mean let them off the hook. It just means, how would you, if your brother showed up at your open house, how would you talk to your brother? Would you be in his face and immediately start beating him up, or you just say, oh my God, you should come check out this kitchen, right? Do it, treat people like you, if you have a good relationship with your family, treat them like you treat your family, right? If you have a bad relationship with your family, then use some other example. But, I mean, I always used to say, just treat them like family, and then somebody's like, well, my family sucks, you know, don't treat them like your family, treat them like something else. All right. So the next couple of pages, we're talking about conversion rate and doing your numbers. And from the sounds of this, I think I'm not going to worry too much about that because it doesn't sound like necessarily everybody's been tracking your numbers very well. And those of you who have, congratulations. But it's really important. Are all of you committed to working with a coach here? Like, are you in the productivity program? Most of you, or have a coach. So you should definitely figure out with your coach what your conversion rate is, or use kind of a standard one. So you have some idea that, you know, for some people, talking to 50 people a week is not going to get you hardly anything. And for other people, talking to 50 a week is going to get you some really great, like you've been in business long enough, you know, Jackie, you know, some of you guys, like if we talk to 50 people, we're getting something out of it. A newer person, I mean, when I first tracked it, it was 115 contacts to one lead when I first started like tracking it, right? And I was actually in the business a while at that point, but I just wasn't really good at the conversion. Like I just did it purely on, I just pounded numbers, so it didn't really matter that I sucked at it. And at some point, then I figured out, wait, if I, you know, at one point I talked to 100 people every single day for 9 months, and by then I was getting really good at scripts, and of course, doing that makes you really good at things. By the end of the year, I talked to like 12,000 people, and in that, I could literally tell them how they were breathing when they answered the phone. I mean, I literally, that's how good I became at listening and really understanding. So I would say, hey, it's Ron Wexler calling from Remax, and you'd hear, right? Like, I didn't hear that for the first 5,000 people I made those calls to. After a while, I totally nailed it. And then I would literally just, I'm not, you guys probably have already heard to do this, but like, I would just repeat whatever they did. So I'd be like, ugh, it's Ron Wexler calling from Keller. Like, I would just go with whatever, wherever they were, I would just go to that place with them and stay there until I got into rapport, right? So just know that knowing your conversion rate and knowing how many people you need to talk to every single day to hit the goal that you're saying you want to hit is literally the entire key to your first couple of years of real estate. Everything else is important. Setting up all the computer stuff is important. Setting up command when it launches. Like all the things we have coming, that's all really important. And the truth is, you could do a 3x5 card file box with people's names and phone numbers and email addresses on them and do just as well if you work it. We just have some cool tools coming that are going to make it really super. Have any of you done like any of the e-edge or any of that? Have any of you played with the KW tools yet?
Yeah.
I mean, you literally can put a contact in there, push one button, and it will email that person for the rest of their life, right? And it'll tell you when you're supposed to call them every 90 days or every whatever it is. There's so much coming. It'll send them a postcard. It'll do everything for you. You know, I used to have to sit down for a couple of days at the beginning of every year, write all that out, plan it out. When I had an assistant give it to them, and I didn't. I sat in front of the TV, ready to put the kids to bed, just wrote out envelopes all night long. You know, we used to do like 13, 15,000 mailings a month or something at one point. And like a lot of them were just handwritten. The envelopes would come in, they were 500 in a box, and stacked like that and all. And then everybody else in the house would be like, what the hell is he doing? You know, nothing, you know, like you figured out for yourself, you know. But like at that point, I just thought mailings were better than the phone calls or door knocking or open houses or whatever. And at some point, mailings became like pretty useless. You know, like the whole world was doing it, or nobody checked their mail anymore or whatever. So then I switched from that. So you know, it might change, but ultimately, I was still always making contacts. So based on your numbers from the beginning to now, did you improve?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Any that didn't improve?
Quick question. The tools we're using now, like the edge and stuff like that, is it currently rolling into?
You know, for me, I feel like right now we're all driving like Cadillacs and BMWs and Mercedes, and they're about to hand everybody Aston Martin. You know, that's the thing that's coming is just like it's so far above what the game we're playing right now. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
So, and that's they're introducing it. Was it next week or the week after in New Orleans, and then everybody right now actually has access to command right now. They're going to start teaching you how to convert your database over, and that's all coming in the next few weeks. And again, you guys are kind of fortunate. Like I had to go through this thing. You know, originally I had to buy software for like $2,000, put it in a computer, and put my database in it. And then there became this online thing came into existence, right? And so then we went to putting it on a computer system online. And of course, it would screw up everything. Half your database would disappear. You'd never find those clients again. And then they moved it to the cloud, and it was in a whole different. Each time they did that to my database, something got screwed up and pieces disappeared. Right now, KW has 500 programmers working on making sure that when the people with big databases like ours do it, you don't get all screwed up. And people with no database, like you guys, are really fortunate because you probably don't have a giant database that you're, you know, it's 5, 10, 15, 20,000. You might have just your current friends and family or whatever. So it'll be much easier for you to start with this program that's probably going to be the last program you ever need. As a, you know, like it's not necessarily evolving anymore. And the evolution is going to all be within that program. It's not going to be like, you know, we all had, I don't even remember the original, but it was like Microsoft Outlook or something. And then it went to this thing called Agent 2000. Then it became Agent 2000 Online. Then we all went to Top Producer. Then we all went to Brivity. Then we all, like every 5 years, that part of the information revolution is over. We already know it's all going to be on the cloud, online, in a program, and the program that KW is building is so far above what anyone else is doing that it's just going to eliminate that whole conversation. So, all right. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time with you guys on conversion rates. So let's jump to page 26. And take a few moments to let me know, let yourself know, decide what you're going to do for commitments. Fill that out, page 26. You have 2 minutes. All right. So, someone stand up and share what you're committing to. Why do you think I asked you to stand up?
Would you like to see it?
And besides that,
Well, because it's gonna make it more formal. Commit,
you're saying it out loud in
reading,
front of how many
speaking
people?
it out loud, standing in front of, yeah.
Right.
Raise my right hand.
Yeah. Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so I commit to doing the daily 10-4. Hopefully, maybe even more than that, but
Hopefully you're planning on it.
plan, intended. I commit to practicing my scripts daily. At least by doing I'm a script partner, but I intend to find one. I commit to holding open houses every week and have been doing so. I commit to putting all the people in my database, such campaigns, selling a phone call. I commit to going on at least one, if not more, appointments a week.
Minimum of 1.
Many as I
I
get,
bump into you in the hall 2 weeks. Do it at least 3 months.
hopefully. I commit to qualifying buyers and getting assigned buyer representation of a portion of homes. I commit to pre-qualifying sellers with a pre-listing packet, which I need to kind of work on that a little bit, but to that. I commit to pricing the listing to ensure sale for my customers, so that is very important, not take overpriced listings. I commit to managing all transactions to a successful close for both parties. Best way to get more business, right? I commit to customer service and creating a win-win for all parties involved. I commit to a 411, having myself held accountable to it, which I do. And I commit to coaching or some sort of regular accountability, which I've already put in place.
Who's your coach?
I'm not a coach, it's an accountability partner.
Okay.
Kathy.
All right, what do you guys think?
Pretty good.
I'm committed to Remember, it's a safe space. On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 was Michael Jordan telling you he's going to win this championship. And 1 was, your kids saying they're going to make their bed.
I'll put her at a 5.
5?
Yeah.
Okay, so I heard 5, I heard 8, what else? Anybody feel she was a 10? 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So why do you guys think, again, are we in a safe space?
Yes.
Is anybody else getting something out of this conversation? So why do you think you didn't feel that she was 8, 9, or 10, or say a 9 or 10 in that? What was missing?
Enthusiasm.
Her delivery.
Oh, no.
So if I tell you that, my team's going to do 400 deals this year, and that we have the plan in place, and we're hiring the right people, and we're going to make it happen, I have no doubt that's it's going to happen. Do you automatically believe me because I've been doing it for a long time?
No.
You still need to hear that commitment behind it, right? So when you went down that list, is there anything on there you really don't intend to do?
No.
So you're going to definitely do an open house every week. Yeah.
I'm committed to it, something may come up, but I.
So something can come up, and are you committed?
Well, I made a number, so my goal for the year is 40 open houses. Or
For the year.
houses for the year.
Oh,
See how
Like happens.
life happens. So make a number, commit to it, and hold yourself accountable.
I didn't check all of them. I checked the ones I know I'm really going to do. I'm just being honest with self right now. And then going forward, I do need to do all these, but I know the ones I can say right now, I can stick to daily. Because I know, I need to work on some of these things. So, you got to kind of be transparent about it.
Well, that's
You're not going to do all of them.
again, peer pressure makes it hard sometimes to really say what you want to say, or really, commit to something, or to say if you're going to commit to it. And you kind of just want to say what seems cool or the right thing to say. And here, I can give you an example. I'm at the point where I will not commit unless I am 99.9% positive I'm doing it and I'm going to get the result I want. So Keller Williams did this huge initiative across the country where we were trying to raise a ton of money after the flooding and everything in Houston. And they decided at International that every office should commit to a certain amount based on how many agents they have. So we get on the phone and they tell me they want $65,000 from our office. And I said, it's not up to me, it's donations.
Yeah.
Now, everybody else got on the phone and they said, we want 40 from you. And of course, I was the highest because we had the most agents, right? This was a regional cup. And they got, everybody pretty much just committed to whatever that thing was. And I said, I'll commit to 20,000. And it was dead silence. Wow. And they're like, what do you mean you committed to 20,000? I said, first of all, it's not up to me. Our agents run our company. I have to go to the Agent Leadership Council and present it to them, and they'll decide what they want to happen. Because they're going to make it happen. They're going to have to do the fundraisers. They're going to have to do whatever we're going to do to raise the money. Why would I commit for them? I'm not top down. If I'm top down, it becomes a dictatorship, and that's not. I didn't sign on for dictatorship. I worked in a few of those. I don't believe in that. And so he said, well, why did you come up with 20,000? And I said, if my office doesn't do one penny, I will write a check for 20,000. I said, that's my commitment, right? I said, it's up to them what our number is going to be. And of course, what was really cool is we got everybody together and they actually raised the number. I think we did 67,000 or something. We actually did more than what it was. But how do you think they would respond if I went to them? It said International is demanding that we come up with $65,000 for KW Cares, right? Even though everybody loves KW Cares, that's not the way we operate. But I'm at the point where I'm in, I had to say it to the leader of the region who directly reported to the CEO and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, I'm not making commitments that I have no power over or that I really don't intend to keep. If you told me this requires that, you say you're going to do an open house every week, my attitude about open houses, You know why I did open houses? First of all, I stopped doing them probably the third year I was in real estate. You know why I was doing them? Because the Cubs were playing at 1 o'clock. And I could get there, start the open house at 12:30. I could get with my wife and kids for 3 hours. I could turn on the Cubs game because no one ever showed up at the freaking open house. You didn't have to people show up. You could watch an entire Cubs game and not get interrupted once, right? I mean, the best open house I ever did, I went out and the ice cream man came. I called this act. And the ice cream man came. And I heard his bell, so I got away from the Cubs game, went out and got getting ice cream. And there's a bunch of little kids in front of me, and I said, hey, I'll pay for all theirs. And I bought all these kids ice cream, and this lady behind me goes, that was really nice. Are you the real estate guy? I go, yeah. She goes, oh, we're fixing this house to sell. Do you want to sell it for us? Right? I was like, that's the only successful open house I ever did. So, that's whatever. So I don't commit to it. Like, really, if you go back through that list, Kim, and you say, am I 100%, like when I stake my children's lives on doing every one of the things that's on that list at 100% of whatever number I have written down, would you then say that you're committed at that level? Or would you go back and say, well, actually, I'll probably do 1 open house a month or 2 open houses a month or blah, blah. Like, would you change anything if you had to, like, stake your life on it or your future or, $50,000 cash?
On anything, so take me off if you
Good
need
job.
to. But I mean, I like to shoot high and be committed. Is it absolutely 100% or I gotta kill myself or something? No. Okay.
So what I'm
I'm
thank you for having the courage to stand up. First of all, no one else did. What I'm saying is, don't commit to things if you're not really like one. I can do it. I can talk to 10 people every single day, and if it means stopping on my way home and doing it, fine. We had like a game we were playing through the whole office, where a whole bunch of us were committed to so many contacts every single day, or we wouldn't go home. And one of the guys, it was like 7 o'clock at night, and I'm walking out and I see him sitting here making calls. I go, what are you doing? He goes, 4. I have to do 4 more. It's like 7 o'clock in the middle of a beautiful summer day and stuff, and he did not want to be here. And I go, what are you doing afterwards? He goes, I'm meeting my girlfriend at this carnival in Orland Park. I'm like, well, just go to the carnival and talk to 4 people while you're at the carnival, And he comes the next day, he goes, I talked to 23 people at the carnival. I'm like, duh. You sit there cold calling at 7 o'clock at night, which is not pretty much the best time to call people. Actually, this is a great time to call people. Everyone's home, they're just not. Just don't be afraid to be creative about it. Just stay with that number. Whatever number you commit to, stick to that number. I don't care how you do it. I mean, we've had people go to the mall and just go to different, every store and talk to people in the store. We've had people get thrown out of the mall. Whatever. But just go look for a new car and say, I'm going to talk to every salesman at the car place. I don't care what it is. Talk to a certain number of people every single day, and you'll end up with the career that you want. What it comes down to. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. Does anybody else want to stand up?
Really?
Good job.
Yeah, good job, Kim.
Congratulations.
Taking action on all of these categories.
Great.
And even if it means failing forward on some of them, not being 100% all the time, but being better at each of these all the time. How's that?
Keep going.
Did you hear my commitment in that?
Yes. Yes.
No one's picking on you.
Oh, you need one of your district partners.
Good job. So page 27 is about basically your growth commitments. And again, I would go through that and I would write down, I would make a similar thing. I would do what I say I'm going to do. I would commit to something if I wasn't going to do it. I actually wrote on there when I was reading through that list, I wrote down, I will keep appointments with my coach. Because it's amazing to me how many people commit to a coach and then don't show up. Again, that doesn't really make sense. If you're going to commit to it, stick to it. All right. So we are not going to do the script off. so here is the script on. Have you guys been calling people in your database every day in class?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing that actually.
And when you do it, are you coming in prepared with numbers to call, or are you just calling people on your phone?
Coming in with a list.
All right, so I would think that that would be the best use. So let's do this. Who's called their database? Just people they know. How's that going?
Pretty good.
So what's the best script? Sure, what are you saying you call?
I've been doing a lot of the Happy New Year, obviously, because it's been New Year. Howard holidays. Family, you know, just kind of New Year.
Cool.
Do you know anybody thinking about voting this year?
All right, if you guys want a script that we can call it today, that's fine. You're gonna have to write it down. We're gonna call people we know. You can call the safest people on your phone, but not strangers that don't care if it's your spouse or your mom or your dad or your brother or sister. You can call the safest people who won't make fun of you or pick on you, whatever's easiest for you. All right? And you're gonna call and you're gonna say hi, of course. And you're gonna say, I just wanted to share something exciting with you. First of all, these people all know you're in real estate, right? Right. Okay. I want to share something exciting with you. Real estate, like spring in real estate, starts the day after the Super Bowl.
Dang.
Just tried that last week.
So I'm wondering who you know right now that's going to buy or sell a home this year. Stop. Do not say a word until they speak. What are they going to say 90% of the time?
No, I can't think of anybody.
Right. So if they say, I'm thinking about selling my house, do I have to tell you what to say after that? Yeah. So if they say, I don't know of anyone right now, the next thing is to say, how about anyone maybe from work or church or the kids' school, however you know them. How about anyone from your neighborhood? Just something where they see when you ask the first question, they're going global. So they're thinking of all the people on the planet Earth that they know. Okay, that's really hard to go through your brain of every person on the planet Earth that you know. But if you say, how about somebody from church? And if be quiet, give them a second to think about it. Or from your neighborhood, give them a second to think about it. Or from work, give them a second to think about it. So you can actually ask several of those. If you have, how about someone from? And then fill in the blank. And have 2 or 3 things that you have common references with that they could give you an answer. And if they say so-and-so, then you guys know what to do, right? They say a person's name. They actually, a friend of mine is moving to North, not you mentioned it, one of the guys at work is moving to North Carolina, right? So you guys know how to finish that conversation or get to spend time. Right? You know what to do with that, right?
Yeah.
Does everyone know what to do with that? Okay, so I mean, I would just say, that's great. I would love to connect with you. What was her name again? What's her phone number? Are you at work right now? Can I be okay if I just call them right now? And then basically, someone who doesn't give you any leads at all, you're just gonna say, I really appreciate your time. If you think of anyone, please let me know. And I'll probably be giving you a call again in another 30 days to check on you anyways. Thanks a lot. If they give you a lead again, don't let them say, I'm gonna have them call you. Because do they ever call you?
No.
So you say, you want that person's name and phone number. If they say, well, I gotta get their permission, blah, blah, say, okay, well, just tell me who it is, and then just call me back with their phone number after they give you permission. Either email address, ask me, so if I just email some information, whatever it is, push to get the person's contact info. Don't trust whoever it is to get them to call you. Because who's the salesperson? So be a salesperson. They're not a salesperson. You're the one who wants to business. And of course, thank them profusely and get off the phone with them and hanging out all day long. If they want to start talking about all kinds of other stuff, then what I want you to say to them is, you know what? I would love to talk about that. I'm kind of tied up right now. Can I get back to you later? So if it's somebody who wants to start talking about the kids and blah, 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 or whatever, just get off the phone. Do not have a 15-minute conversation right now. These conversations are 3 minutes long, maybe 2. That's it. So, just say, oh my God, I didn't think about that. That's right. Your kids were moving to California and, we were supposed to talk about blah, blah, blah. Where can I call you back around 4 o'clock? Right? Just get off the phone right then. Just make an excuse to get off. Say, I just had a few minutes between appointments, that's why I wanted to call, I was thinking of it. Right. You guys kind of get that part of it? All right, so it's 11 o'clock. From now until 11:15, I want you guys to, if you want to really have guts in this, just start at A in your phone, in your telephone. You call the very first person that you have that kind of a friendship relationship. Don't go searching through your whole phone. But if you insist on doing it, that's okay too. So what I want you to track is how many people you talk to, contacts, and then leads. If you want to have fun, you could do right now leads and future. So that's what I'm going to ask you when we're done. Every person's going to report their numbers. All right, any questions? Yes?
Could you repeat the first part of script?
Probably not.
I just wanted to share something.
Here it is. Ready?
Hi, I just wanted to share something exciting with you. Spring in real estate starts the day after the Super Bowl.
Spring.
In real estate starts the day after the Super Bowl.
Okay. If you get a voicemail, then I would just call and say, hey, it's blah, 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 whatever your name is. If you get a chance, give me a call right back. Get a chance, call me right back. That's it. That's your entire voicemail. Hey, it's Ron. Give me a call. That's your voicemail.
It's starting right now.
Yep. Starting a minute ago.
¿Cuántos meses? ¿Si la puedes comprar? Ok. Galáctico se la busco y es para el 1 de marzo.
Hello?
Bueno, empieza a vencer, pero yo decía la hija que primero de febrero. Sí, entonces sí, ustedes sí los sí, porque el cheque regular se paga hasta más primero de enero.
Hello, Erna, this is Laura Forte. How are you? Good. I'm just following up. You said you was going to talk to your daughter or your daughter's friend who was looking for a house. I was wondering.
Sí.
Phone number. She gave me the other numbers no longer in service. That was, okay, that's okay. She don't have to use her. Is she gonna use her as her agent, or is she thinking about using her?
Oh my God, ever since, I mean, you know what? Oh, I'm so glad you said that, Joy. Hold on.
I'll shoot you a text right now.
She sure did. They want to meet. I already sent them a house because you was supposed to. I don't. I'm focused. So. Our bank staff because I'm trying to see how they present it. Because they wasn't getting any. So 2-5. That's tomorrow, right?
Yep.
They want to do a walk at 2416 South 12. See if it's still available.
Okay, so we're thinking right now, this northern boundary would be like Stevenson or north of that. I mean, I'm just, but this is not summer. So you're talking like, okay. Oh, wow. Oak Forest, you know. Yeah, okay. Okay, perfect, okay. Awesome. I get it, yeah, no, that's fine. Okay. Yours locked.
Hi, Marta, Angela Walker.
Some people ask me.
Good. A schedule is showing at 12. Is it still available? Yes. It is still available. Okay, thanks. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you.
So. You are very welcome. And then you can turn out the database. So.
Do you know the name?
That's what we need. You're right by my office.
Oh, okay.
And watch. So I'm with Keller Williams Realty and we're on.
Oh, maybe.
No, she wasn't
No,
sweet.
it's not like we're 5 minutes from each other. With the construction. So, and then what's your email address? So. Okay. And Jill, do you happen to know anyone right now looking to buy or sell those they're looking this year that you can think of?
Hi, Gregory, Angela Walker. Hi, how are you? I'm doing well. Oh, happy New Year to you. So, attending, yes, I remember, definitely, yes. Okay.
Yeah, just on something so bad.
Okay. No, I can definitely do that. When, I know you have a tenant there, when is the best time? Okay. Okay. 3 p.m. today. Okay. Is it possible if you can meet me at 2 p.m.? Okay. So, or even better yet, how about is 2:30? Well, you know what? Let's do 2 p.m. I think 2 p.m. could be good. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So can you confirm the address? You can give it to me now. Awesome. I will see you at 2 p.m. today, 917 South 22nd. All right. Thank you, Gregory. No problem. Bye-bye. All right.
Okay, 4 minutes. Keep down.
Does anybody happen to have a Samsung charger with them? No?
My phone died.
Yeah, that's right, we're supposed to be.
I'll keep you posted. Hey, thanks for sending those down.
I did, I just didn't have it in my phone. And I'm looking at it and I wrote it. But yes,
Hey, Nina, how are you? Good, good. Hey, sweetie, I'm calling because I am looking into our spring market with real estate. And I wanted to know, did you know anybody who would be interested in buying or selling, or somebody on your job, your mama? Okay, well, look, do this. She can give me a call, and if she has any questions or anything like that, tell her that she can call me, even if she knows the credit isn't together yet, or she just kind of want to know the process. Just give her my number, Nina. Okie dokie. And how you doing? Yeah, I know. That's why I was thinking that you were home. So, did you get an opportunity to get your plan together? Yeah, that's all that we talked about.
do you email?
Okay, all right. You sound like you was Miranda.
Right.
Yeah. Well, honey, if you know anybody, let me know. I would really, really appreciate
And
it.
it's so awesome, do you? Oh, that's good.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Oh, like photos.
You know, and they even I don't know about it.
Finish your calls.
Everybody's on every weekend.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, just give me cards out and the numbers.
What is that section?
I have so many people.
Okay, sounds all right.
They call me.
Yeah.
But the credit. You know, I picky. It has the rules of kind of rich.
Was it nice?
But I ain't coming out. I ain't even want to go. I said, you better. And I said, which one? I said, you know, I was talking about which one about this one. I don't see which one would you want to see. Same here.
All right, let's go. So. All right. So how did it go?
It went well. It went well. I have a 2:00 pre-listing appointment. So that went cool.
From this conversation?
Yes. And then I had, I spoke to someone and she stated that her friend is looking. She's gonna pass the information. She wants to talk to her friend first before she gives me the number. So she's gonna pass the information on.
Awesome. All right, so let's do this on the board. How many contacts did you make?
2.
Let's start in the corner. Oh, next to you. How many contacts did you make?
3.
How many leads did you get?
1.
How many right now leads?
Possibly 1.
All right, well, was it a right now lead or a future lead?
A future lead.
All right, Angela.
2.
How many leads?
2.
Right now?
Right now, 1. 1 future.
Okay.
3. 1, 1, and 1.
Okay.
2. 1. None.
Was it?
0, 0.
All right. Well, if it's a lead, you don't know.
Maybe it's gonna be future.
What's that?
Future.
Future. You say it has to be one. Okay.
I got 2 leads, and 1 and 1.
Going across.
I have contact 1 and 0, 0, 0.
Okay.
3, 1, 0, 1.
Okay.
People we actually talk to.
Uh-huh.
2, 1, 0, 1.
-1, 0, 0.
Wait, hold on. You want to add something?
So if you like a message, that doesn't count for contact.
Correct.
So make that 1 instead of 2. 1, 1.
Okay.
1, 0, 2.
Okay.
1, 0.
I just had 2 contacts.
Okay.
2 leads.
Okay.
Right now. Appointment tomorrow morning.
Awesome.
Good job.
Okay.
1, 0, 0.
Okay.
1 or 2, 1 and 1. No, I'm sorry. 1 and 1,
2.
0, 1.
2. Right. Start over.
2, 1, 0, 1.
3, 2, 0, 2. 2, 1. What is it? What is it called?
Right now.
Is the lead right now lead or is the future?
It's a right now. 2, 1, 0, 1. 1, 1,
Joe? Okay. You add up that column, you add up that column, you get this big one, you get to add up that column, and you get to add up that column. Give me some totals.
Now it's 6. That one, that's 6.
15.
We changed it.
Okay. All right, and that was 15 minutes. If our average commission is $5,000, how much money did we potentially generate? 30,000 right now money, right? 5,000 times 6. And what's 5,000 times 15? What is it?
$75.
So in 15 minutes, you just generated potentially $105,000. You kind of get why those calls are important,
Yeah.
right? So if you didn't make those calls, who thinks they would have still got the lead if they didn't make the calls? They just did. So does that give any illustration why it's so important to be making calls and talking to people? Think about that.
So now it's like 5,000, are you saying it's like 5,000?
I'm just saying if your average commission is about 5,000.
Yeah, per.
Right, per transaction. So 6 times 5 is 30,000. Yeah, it's just a general number. All right, so, yeah. Does anybody can use an extra 105,000 around here? I'm just curious. So do you understand why, like, the only thing that really matters, especially at the beginning, is this? Right? None of this other stuff happens without it. Unless you just have such an amazing something, if the business just falls in your lap. All right, so we're kind of at the end of the show here. So let me ask this. Actually, go to page 30. So first, who hasn't shared an aha today? What have you gotten out of this 12 weeks?
I think my main aha from the entire Ignite is like time management and managing my calendar, making sure I write down. I think we said, it was in a class and it said, what goes in your calendar is what you value. So if that's what I value, then whatever I need to be doing to make sure that I can feed my family and that kind of thing needs to go on my calendar. I need to stick to it.
Good. Who's ever forgotten that they were leaving for the airport to go on a vacation? You ever forget or change your plans? You ever like at the last minute go, oh, I don't really want to do that. I'm not going to go. Right. Well, that's how important this is, right?
My aha moment just came out of the class today, which the young lady said right there, my race is my race.
Mm-hmm.
Because out of all of this, when I fall behind, I do tend to beat up on myself. And so that kind of lifts the weight off me a little bit and help me go back to normal. You know, when I do it. Because I can take my, I take 20 days.
Yeah, you know, some of us take years.
Almost a day to drink, no, I'm
Right.
drink.
Some people beat themselves up about something that happened, you know, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
So I tend to kind of stay there in that in that state for a while, and it's kind of like.
Got it. Okay. Other ahas?
Well, I've also been reading the One Thing book along with this class. And I think that's the biggest highlight, is that the one thing, we need to focus on what's most important.
And it never really changes as you grow or grow your business. It actually never really changes. Because no matter what level you're at, it's still about bringing in business. And then, the rest of it's all administration, right? How you administer the business once you get it. You never stop going after more business. All right, so how about behaviors? How would you translate those ahas into concrete change in your behaviors?
Consistency.
All right, what is
I
that?
think if we practice consistency, those behaviors will become more of our just everyday, daily habits and routines. Our practice makes perfect, right? It's not. That's what we should be striving for.
My behavior is like, just like I have the day, I can do whatever I want. I'm not really like tied down to a 9 to 5. But now I'm like, no, I need to really time block, because at first I'm like, I'm just floating, I can do what I want. But no, I can't, because I'm in control of the business. And if I want to see the money, I have to like really do what I'm supposed to do daily.
Real estate's a very interesting giant circle, because you got into real estate for the freedom, and you realize it was the freedom from a calendar or a schedule or being told what to do. And then what you realize is as soon as you start following your schedule and telling yourself what to do, and basically showing up when and where you're supposed to, you start to get the money, and that pays for the freedom. But all of us we just want the freedom. Like, we don't want to pay the price to get it, right? Everybody wants to be able to just stop working and be like, oh, I'm just going to show up when I want to. It's just the opposite. When you start your own business, like I grew up working in a stereo store, I had to be there when they said I had to be there. Did the owner have to be there? No. Do you think he was there at the beginning when he started the business?
Yeah.
Heck yeah, he was there 24/7 for years. So you're at that stage. First, be there all the time, build it, understand it, grow, and then go from there. All right. What else about behaviors?
For me, mindset, just unlimited belief. Like every day now, I'm always thinking about something out of the box. Like, okay, what I wasn't comfortable doing before, I'm now more comfortable doing it, because I'm trying to say I have no unlimited beliefs. There's no limited beliefs. I'm sorry. So for me, just doing it, and just doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, or if I mess up, it doesn't matter as long as I attempted it.
And you're gonna, right? We always say you're gonna learn or you're gonna earn, right? You're gonna get something out of it no matter what. You're either gonna get better and get a direct payment from it, or you're gonna get better and learn how to do it better for the next time you attempt it, or something similar. Okay. All right. How about the tools? What tools have you picked up in the last 12 weeks that you're gonna actually use in your business?
Scripts.
Anything else?
The tracker.
And what?
My tracker.
And using the track.
Yeah.
You had your hand up first.
I was just saying, behaviors, just do it.
Just do it.
Just take all the stuff that, like, all the stuff that's in this folder. Just use the tools that are given to you, and just do it.
Yeah, just take action.
Just take action.
You're never going to feel 100% confident, cocky, and sure. I promise you that, no matter what.
Not making the phone calls. I'm like, yeah, stuttering.
Right, and you won't, here's what's important. You won't stop stuttering practicing it more. You'll stop stuttering when you do 10 calls, 15 calls, 20 calls, 30 calls.
So true.
You have to do it. You learn from doing, not from studying or not from practicing. I mean, you do get better practicing with each other, but you're not going to, the incremental massive improvement comes when you're just making a lot of calls or talking to a lot of people. When you're walking in a grocery store, all the way down saying to yourself, I'm person, I talk to the person behind me, and the person in front of me. Like, just talk yourself into it, and then just do it. And then when you walk out the grocery store, nobody shot me. No, they didn't really, you know, nobody told me to
I
get
can talk
lost.
to anybody. I embarrass my daughter. I talk to everybody. You know,
Okay.
How you doing, blah, 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 but the phones are different, you know, that I don't see that.
Yeah.
I talk to people so much that my son does it. So he had a play date with his friend, and then the dad called me and was like, "So you sell homes?" I'm like, "Who told you?" I didn't tell this man anything about me. And my son's 11, and I'm like, "You told this man what I do?" But you know, it's good. He's like an investor, so it worked out good. But he sees me doing it, so I mean, like, he does the same thing. Yeah,
That's great.
I was like,
They got me
"Thank you."
beat. They got me. I want to teach them to
Yeah.
do it and promote it. Like the worst in the world is when your kid's like, "Oh, my friend Johnny just moved to Atlanta." What? I was telling them that, like, you know,
Yeah.
you talk to the parents and talk to the other kids when they're older playing and stuff. And they hear anything about real estate, you're like, "Oh my God, you gotta talk to my dad." And my kids were really good at it. They got money at $500 for every one that they did, and half of it went into their savings. The other half they got to play.
Yeah, like, nice.
All right. So, any other ahas from this course? So here's what I'm going to share. There's 3 things. Ask yourself if this is true for you or not, and if it's not, think about why not. If it is true for you, congratulations, that's awesome. I completed Ignite with energy, enthusiasm, focus, and follow. I have the tools to go forward with my business. I know where to go for answers, whether it's in the office or online. Think about that for yourself. Again, you know, you should constantly be grading yourself and seeing how you're doing against your goals, against what you plan. That's pretty much 3 minutes away. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Second thing is, be a part of the market center. Right? This is, I mean, I've been around a lot of real estate offices, you know, in my time. And I've been part of 3, but I've been in and out of a bunch of them. There is no other office that you can come close to what's here, what's available to you here, what you can learn here, and the opportunities. We have team meetings, which is the top agents sharing what's going on in the market center, what's going on in their business, how they, you know, asking how they can help, learning and growing. We have agent leadership council meetings, which that's basically the board of directors of the whole company. And that's made up of people from the top 20% of the office. They're the ones that make all the plans for how we run this company. You're not allowed to talk at an ALC meeting. Actually, I'm not allowed to talk at an ALC meeting either. However, you're invited to go there and see how leaders lead and how they talk and how they learn. Just go there and, you know, you just sit there and listen to the conversations. You'll get a ton out of it. The other thing is just share what you're learning with people that you meet, you know, whether it's buyers, sellers, or other agents. I mean, I don't know, I've had a lot of people join Keller Williams that I didn't let go recruit, you know, that just agents that I've had deals with or spoken to, and they're like, you know, I kind of want to get a little piece of what you're doing here. You know, they just come over, like, you're here, right? They just want to come over and see what it's all about. And then they see it and they go, this makes way more sense than where I'm at now. I don't think there's a better place to learn and grow. And, you know, when you believe in something, you share it with other people, right? So, you know, just take advantage, play the game, play full out. One other thing I would say is think about how you treat each other. And because so many people here are hardcore lead generators and they are calling expireds and for sale by owners and whatever, we don't beat up each other. So if you call an expired listing and they say, oh, I just talked to James Matz, he's coming over at 2 o'clock. You don't go, you know, well, you want a second opinion, don't you? And blah, 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 blah. Like, just support that person. Right. Say, oh, James is a great guy. And be like, yeah, how can I get this supported? Right? But don't ever try and take business from each other. It's the worst thing that you can do. And you're gonna go head to head once in a while. Don't force that to happen. Don't go after someone. Once they've already told you that they're working with someone else, just get out of the way. Let it go. Let it happen. Support that person. Like my standard, and I just use James as an example. We've been competing head to head since the early 90s, you know, before either one of us ever heard of Keller Williams. And like when I was against, right, when he was a different company, like we would go head to head, and a lot of times he'd come walking out of the appointment as I was walking in, or vice versa. Or, you know, I would call him and say, hey, you know, your Thursday appointment at 2 o'clock, I just freed up that hour for you to do more than I took the listing. And then within a week, he'd call me back and do the same thing to you, right? So, you know, when someone's with another company, you don't have to be a jerk about it, like have fun with it. When somebody's here, like I would never go after a listing if they said to me, you know, James is coming here at 2 o'clock and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna list with him. I wouldn't go after that listing, right? Treat each other the way you wanna be treated, take care of each other, support each other. I mean, now, you know, what I say is he's a great age and you're in good hands. And if you list with James, I'll be glad to show it. That's what I say now when I bump into, you know, people from here, right? That's how you treat each other. So, you know, that's the way you want to be treated. Believe me, if you do a great job setting an appointment with somebody, and then somebody else from your same company comes in behind you and kind of blows you out of the water, you're not going to feel really good. It's not a rule. Like there's nothing says you're not allowed to do it. We're all independent. It's how we decide that we're going to treat each other. It's a game we play together, right? So, you know, the last thing is just that the journey begins here, right? You got to decide from now, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? What are you going to build? Set your goals, set your daily, get it all the way down to the daily and hourly. Because, you know, you don't feed an elephant in one bite, right? It's one bite at a time. So the elephant is your yearly goal. You break it down to the daily activity. We did everything except, we're on page 3. We did everything except the evaluations. You know that.
Yeah. It's not the same instructor, so they can't really do it. How about this? You can send me an email and let me know any thoughts on the Ignite process. Good, the bad, the ugly, the great, however you like to do. How about that? Thank you. All right. So are we ready? Because I have like a lot of people here that are very excited about our graduates.
Do you guys feel like graduates?
Yeah.
All right. You ready?
What about you?
I want you to stand up here and hand out your certificate. Before you want to come out to the back. Whenever you
This is the title. I told you each getting a Ferrari.
I don't know what that will.
You get a car, you get a car, you get a car. That would be nice. All right, Lord. What company were you with?
My own company.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right, are you ready? Did you guys all get your gowns? Your little caps? All right, so when I call your name, you're gonna come up, get your certificate, and then what? That's it.
Oh, sit back down.
Oh, then you're sitting back down?
Yes.
All right, so first I have Angie Bach. Oh.
You go right, Angie.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Cindy.
Cindy Beverly.
It's a nice sound. She goes, whoa, when they come out like that.
Graduation music.
Julie Cantrell.
Thank you.
Cindy Beverly. I got all my cute people.
All right, Roberta Cross.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Nyla Diaz. Congratulations. There you go. Karen Gaines.
Not here today.
James Gaudreau. Lydia Gunderson. Leah Israel.
Barb, I love it.
Mary Jane Finger. Come up here.
Oh, you get here.
Jamie Loper. Tim Maxson. He was our guinea pig today. Kia McKinney. Hi. Say it again.
Elaine.
Oh, it's not here? Fatima Ortiz. Sharif Hughes. Don Cyborg. Leticia Joyce Jackie Tracy. Angela Walker. Zashonda Williams.
I would like to bring up Fifth Third. Are you coming up? So they are,
Name is now.
they have sponsored your graduation. They brought you some drinks and stuff to celebrate with. So
my family. It's almost ready.
I was just speaking to a new recruit that happened to know me. Years we've been doing this, all the firms that we do it. Pretty blessed to have them. There's a little way to say thank you for coming to be part of the training for luncheon. That's pretty well service. When your kids graduated and you had the party, you had to have a cake. So we got a cake for you too. Graduation and lunch and everything, and all the partners that you've seen in the past so far are here. Just to say congratulations. Be it if they're really looking forward to help. So, partner on board. You're growing your businesses, use the word that people support you. Right? These guys booked checks, took time, showed up. They really care about you being a success. And the way you show your appreciation is you work with them like whatever you can, right? So just know that. That's an important thing with everybody. I don't care if it's mortgage people, anybody you refer to, anybody refers to you. Start building great relationships. Pick out someone you felt good about and spend some time with them. Take them to lunch. Get to know them, right? Build them into your business. They become your team as you grow. Right? That's your first team. Is you and your lender, you and your inspector, you and your attorneys. So start building your team up.
And I just want to say that I'm grateful for all of the instructors that
Missed session. Please email me what session that you missed, and I will get you over the recording. Not a lot of the instructors even knew they were being recorded. So I will make sure that I get you the recording of that session. You are on top of everything. And if you guys ever need anything at all, please let me know. Ron know, any of the PC coaches know. We, the instructors, our ALC, we're always here to help you guys grow and be successful. I would love, love, love if all of you could come up together and I can take a picture of our graduating group.
Well, you can get it in that.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes,
we ready? Come on up. I stayed up all night for this.
Okay, I'll stay. Yeah, we got a Super Bowl game. Get your picture.
Congratulations.
Yeah, right. Ron. We're in warm bikini weather. It's 100-degree difference today.
Oh yeah, you got. Oh yeah, you got it.
If you want to, I don't.
Okay, yeah, we gotta squeeze a little more.
I'm really quick on each other.
Nice try. Carol, nice try. Yeah, there you go.
You got them up?
Yeah, I did it. Okay, hold on. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna take a couple. All right. Woohoo! Bring your cats in here. We'll be set up in 5 to 10 minutes. Sir?
Thanks, Mom.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Everyone take your tassel. Yeah, take your tassel. Take your tassel. Hey, Ron. Hey, Ron. I think they. I think she said they want it set up in here. Is that right?
I have no idea.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I'm on the schedule, so crazy, I gotta get my own training. Come after 11. The old me would have just popped up there at 8:30, no, I'm not gonna get out there.
Oh, okay, I'll call her next. Okay. All right, thank you.
You guys always go to the rest of the second. To me, it's like when you leave. Some years it's super. You understand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a car.
So I don't have a KW card. Not yet. And I probably
Even though.
I don't have any cards. I'm gonna, they're in the car.
What do you mean?
Sean.
So this is the. I started. Yeah, they gave us a year. Oh, yeah.
at a high level. It's really hard. Graduate, food is being set up, so.
My happy place. I'm like, I need to eat. And it smells so good and so good. That's the fun part now. See my plate.
Chris. No, let's do this weekend. Okay. We can still do that, but I mean, this is. Oh, no, I'm not like. Chris, get on. Somebody appreciate the opportunity to get in here, but celebrate with you. I'll let you be doing. You have a card? I'm a married man.
Get out of here.
Oh, you gotta have that cake. I stayed up all night baking.
Already.
You get a picture?
Yeah. I was pizza.
I know. I see it. I need to lose some weight. Big time. But everywhere you go, it's full.
Yeah. What I had one. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can stay later with me. You have a letter by the mark? Stay later. I got 5 days tomorrow. Really good. I was like, oh, I wonder if you do my
training. Real estate.
Oh my goodness. How long have you been with him?
3 years. From what I hear from other offices.
And I need that because then I'm a good age, but I need it though. To sharpen my stuff.
I know for the last couple of years, I probably got on some papers, 30 years. I was asking something. I didn't know. It's like the foreign relationship. So Carol Moore, I'm always on the phone, tell me there's a club.
I'm the same way for her. I'm like, I don't have to, you know.
Congrats again. Thanks.
Yeah. I don't hear you. Oh, okay.
I was like the rental suite. I love the rental. Not a lot of money. And people Okay, you don't like it, so maybe. But that's what I'm learning here. But yesterday I told her, now look, what you gonna do is get the replay. And we going to show. Well, your car take you down, because if not, I'm not going.
Yeah, I was going there. There was a lot of water.
They say no all the time.
And then when I found her, took her to the places, and they got protected. I don't know the car, but I have car with the
That's why, honey, that's why I'm venturing off there. I can't do it.
My last
Yeah, trip.
found her place. Last place she wanted to go, so this place needed some work done on, so I had the agent and the building management go back. The work that needed to be done. We did a final part. She had put up the project down. She moved last February 3rd. And congratulations, you today. They sent me back in here from, because I'm waiting on my commission, right? I called her yesterday, they told me she can't, the place possibly changed her mind.
Oh, they do that.
I was like,
They don't care.
Ooh,
they get a lot.
So just recently, she called me and said,
oh, her lease over.
No, a whole year went by. She called and she, prior to this, a couple weeks ago, she called. They asked her to come and pick up the deposit. They asked her, and they were mean to her.
You get all that.
You could have had this. I'm thinking,
Yeah, shit,
I'm last month she called and said she called. I said,
and they have big time. They would do it like that. But then I had some success with them. Yeah, they'll get you over. They do. And then you like, I helped you do it with someone else.
Right.
But they're going crazy if they find someone else.
Yeah, I can read all over the place.
Well, you know what? If I see somebody, sometimes I can tell, like, if you come here and calling me, I'm like, okay. If they come to a showing, pick one, or whatever, you know what else? If I have the moving papers with me, they give me their moving papers, they can't do nothing without me. I got to make When she has something else, she gonna go somewhere else.
I slammed over the food.
I made a decision.
I'm tired, my back is sore.
We're trying to improve over the Super Bowl stuff, right?
And you know, I've had a couple of success.
You know, they don't pay a
Friend of mine, rented a house, and now I have her as a client. She's looking for a house to buy. So I, yeah.
She give to you
when I was
oh, the one that met her husband.
Yeah. She already knows she wants to be college student. And that worked out.
Don't be playing with you, right?
Right.
It killed her. It killed her. You know, like, one lady was out. Yeah. I slept in the fire. I got food. I'm like, okay, let's do it. But if you're gonna be, you know, Oh, maybe a trip.
Want to be in a certain neighborhood.
No. And that's just.
All kinds of stuff crazy.
I know. And that's what, like, if I find people that they can tell my clients, I got somebody that'll take it. They might not be the fans in this place, but they'll take it. If they say no, I'm like, oh, well, so what?
That's a lot of time. When you could be. That's how I feel about it now. But before, it was just influence. Before I was
That's like, yeah, hush, yeah. I'm like, your credit messed up. That was me. But they learn you like that. I do all this, and then go past something else. Yeah. No, that's okay, Joy.
Yeah. So one day we were talking, and we went home. We were talking about vitamins. So I was talking about vitamins.
Oh, what's
money maker. That's what it's called.
One of those things you gotta show me, you gotta go. It wasn't
And I felt sorry for the company, because I had them over there and make all these repairs
for the inspection. Making her that on the document.
Oh my God. And she had the nerve to say that they were mean to her. They weren't mean to her. She changed them.
And that's why they asked for those. That you holding somebody holding money. Wait,
Be running all over the place, and then change their minds.
Yeah, that's how I say I really
you can't decide on how you want.
I say bring it down. Which are you? She said it'd be 10 houses. I'm gonna come out. I'm only gonna do it right.
We had a buyer once, I was sitting in class. And I got a text message. She had listed 20 listings that she wanted to sell. This is somebody I like the buyer consultation. And told him that, you know, we can narrow it down. Oh my God. Go see.
Maybe that. Or pick your face. Let's start off with your back. I put it on there every Monday, just for the rest of the year. But I really live by my calendar. My friends laugh. If I don't put it on my calendar, I have to write it on here. And then I'll see like, oh, I'm supposed to be here. It has to make sense to me. The whole day I'm going back. I do that. When it came to this day, I'm like, hallelujah. Even though but I knew I'm like I was on the phone. The show was like 10 to 1, but I saw 2 points. It wasn't bad. But I'm like, I got up, like I know I'm in attention. I normally kind of like fly by the day, like, once I wake up, I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't working as like that. People calling me, I'm like, oh. They come, that's what I was doing a lot. That's the thing, most people don't like it, but that's why. But they talking like $800, I'm like,
so well, those were the times that I was getting.
that's not enough. The one yesterday was $1,600. Oh, yeah. She needed a house, we got 4 kids.
It's kind of hard to buy one.
You don't want to be loud. Your credit is important. You don't know anybody that no. That was your first question when I first started. What's that question? Well, not even a free person. It's fine. I thought, like, I can't do it. Now, like, I don't know how I do it, but, you know, but it's not that. Somebody's gonna say, you don't work today. It was kind of silly.
Get up and get out. And to get up and get started because you can fall into a trap of what you do and what. And you're not doing it. You know, okay, I'm gonna skip an extra hour. I'll start making my phone call, not in that car at 10 o'clock. Next thing you know, it's 12 o'clock. And then it's 3 o'clock. It's just not done anything. Oh my God.
But no, if I get up and I go to the office, I can't. I used to do that, and then I started taking my kids to school. So I didn't go home. I'm still in my pajamas. I'm dropping them off in my pajamas. Yeah. Call my best friend. She's an at-home mom, so she got all day to talk. So then we.
And they'll talk to you all day too.
And my family would call. She ain't doing nothing, so let's take it to the. I'm like, well, what are you doing? I'm at work, but she think I'm playing.
That okay, she got a lot of free time, so she can go pick up phone calls. She can take the person to the airport. She ain't doing nothing. So you have to teach them, okay, I keep a schedule just like everybody else.
Yeah. Why you there? What you doing? Right. You want some good water? Yeah.
So people will ask me now, what's on your calendar? Can you fit me in on Saturday? Can you fit me in on this day at this time? They thought, hey, you done that. Most of the time I wouldn't.
Well, I can't answer it. My thing is, I don't know.
Get off track. One week of that long class, and then I went to church, and my blood pressure shot up. They took me out of church in the ambulance to the hospital. I was in the hospital for 3 days. They said I had heart. So, but all of the tests came back negative. But it was like an eye opener to me because I had running all over the place, trying to do what everybody else except for myself. And I had to carry it. Yeah, so I had to slow down. So I took some time off. I don't know. My focus so when I came back, it was like, oh, you want to be back. But I'm taking this slow.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I'll be up at 8 tomorrow, but I'll be there next week. I'm like, send out a reminder or you can message. All they gotta do is put it on their schedule.
Well, that's the thing.
This is so far.
I'm not. They need that. Well, maybe for you.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Right here in the
So you know where like Oakwood is, the bridge. Which is fine. It's not a bad thing. But yeah, yeah. And plus, you can just take like you can take a straight. Take a great straight. Oh, okay. It's not bad at all. It's just that and you as well. You know what I like that. And I can see on my red. Add red, and I can feel it all.
I'm supposed to be not eating a whole lot of bread and carbs. Bread, carbs, and so forth. Sweets.
When I eat sweets, always it gotta be my sweet choice. Oh, do it. I'm gonna do what I like. Okay. I'm not a big cake.
You too. You too. Have a blessed day. Okay.
I was telling her I'm big.
Wow.
Yep, because I teach with a realtor, and she's an instructor there too. Yeah. All right, take care.
Take care.
Well, I also did. So we lost out. Then we were over bid it on each well, I guess they felt it was a strong I don't think that. Oh, my part is not representing the buyer, so she's with Right. Yeah. And on my first time. I mean, it is true. It's nice quality, but I'm wondering. Taxes, like horses and all that stuff.
We already exchanged. I already, I have sent them the with math, we just stuff. I stopped doing it. But I was.
I'm just wondering, haven't you thinking about this?
And you, as a elders. None of them was.
One of those to track
Very.
that you guys are using. So, so far. So that's gonna help with that tracking, yes, so, because I forget. I gotta go through this for hours, and but this way, now I have that on market
Yeah, I know that. They don't need to buy it. Yeah. No, I know that.
We're thinking this evening.
You're like the same thing.
Yeah, I'm like, what are they gonna do? Sure. They also have the kinds of problems. Well, if you're gonna do it as a school, I want to just be expected.
I know you guys are trying about it. What makes you, yes, yeah, but there's other places because when our down was all ways to like that we can, yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, find out.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, a lot of things out there.
And a 5-1 and 7-1. Or 3-5. 3-1-5-1 are.
They're one side, it's my niece and her husband. My husband's niece, actually, but, they're one side. They're one side.
Hey, Chris.
Okay. Any other?
And you guys have a power cord.
I wish they made a decision.
And we're all set. I'm gonna go back and show you that. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think you showed it when they're getting to the summer, and they found out like the county said, that's what now county gives them another property, and it would be okay to do that. I think that would be cool. And then you should the tax demand on being on that. I'm trying to. Yes, I did. You only have like 70 or 80. I don't know why, because it's, I'm sure it's gonna be able to do it. It's not just for all these questions. They're not the answer. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make it. So at some point I would say, right now. Yes. I was alive and I'm alive. And I did it, I should have. Yeah. I know. I agree. Oh, that's cool, so, and they have, that's the thing that the, and then the truck.
Well, it's kind of redundant.
It's kind of redundant, okay.
No, it's gonna be behind the desk. I'm not ready.
I'll be there, okay.
You have one half of it versus buyer side, seller side. You have finance.
And that would be also, yeah, property that helps.
Well, if the moment you subdivide, you lose that, well, you lose that exemption.
I know.
So leave it alone, it's not fine. And I know that they've said that the house might be okay with that additional. Make sure that that's not gonna
That
trigger,
small
make
one,
sure,
no,
yeah,
I was thinking about.
I'll make sure that it's not gonna trigger them to come out and reassess. So, no, you're no longer grandfathered.
Would you ever? I think.
Meeting is just like you.
I'm gonna build like an architecture, like how I see the background. It would have to be.
No, do you want? Would you have a reason for it, or would you have a reason for moving? Like that 30 paragraphs.
They're staying in that one right now. I'm saying if I could build my own house.
Yeah.
I actually. So it's good, right? So I don't think we're gonna do that. So are you gonna do it? I don't know. Do that and then buy it.
If you want any new construction. That's right now.
Who did? Oh, they are, okay.
You know, and whatever you have.
I was thinking it was,
Oh, it really is gonna depend on.
I don't know. The one in Philly is really nice, but I just did this. Yes, no, yeah. So maybe I'll do 10. Did you close that in? No. I know. Right. Right. Exactly. And I know this. For sure. And to keep it, I just had it forever. So helpful. You know, then everyone's saying like, get off the right? Well, if you put your kids in the front yard and the neighbors going, where are you? Call the cops. Yeah. It's so dangerous. The subdivisions, they drive too fast. I don't know why you complain.
I told my wife, I'm like, I hope to be the house that, you know, come be that house.
Yes, you want to be that house that they get.
And I have my eyes on.
And. Right. 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 All right, I know we'll get together real soon and stuff. I'd like talking to you guys, we gotta get working. Thanks for that info though, I know you know it's my mind.
Did you weigh in already? If you didn't weigh in already, do it now. It's bigger now. Or. So you're like 18 pounds heavier? Then you step off next week, like, look at that. Well, guys, again, congratulations. Thank you so much for having us out.
Where did you guys order from? The chickens are really good.
I cooked them. That's just what I do on the ground. Country house? I'm not certain, but I was
No, it's
here.
Country House. Kathy gets there every time we get something, that's usually.
Thanks, guys. I'm
No
sure we'll
problem.
see you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the lunch. It's very good.
I'll take all the credit in the world for it. You are most certainly welcome. We can box up, take it home. It's truly our pleasure. Thank you for having us out, letting us celebrate with you guys on graduation day. So,
Thank you.
if there's anything that you guys need or we can help with, please don't hesitate to let us know. Good job.
You have a card on you? I wasn't here for that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Oh, Tom, please. Thomas is when I'm in trouble.
Okay, all right. Oh, I got you.
Or they're like when they say Thomas, please turn your head to the left.
Then how many put Tom on your business card?
They said that I had to mention my U4. The U4 with the like, they said that all that had to match, like the residential mortgage stuff, licensing. I said, I'm like, fine, I'm gonna put the fact that I have an MBA on it. It doesn't make a difference. Just means I know how to take a test and I'm good with numbers. So, but I did fight them on the name tag. They wouldn't let me just put Tom. They made me put my last name. I was gonna say Rash Guy. That I was, I've had that from my kids' school. Yeah, well, yeah, I had that from my kids' school. They're like, Mr. Ash. I'm like, oh my God, that was so weird.
Right?
Like, I suppose, like, are they in trouble or prison?
Definitely, yes.
Well, yes, it is.
Exactly. Go right into adult mode.
Yeah. I'm like, what do I have to pay for? What they break? Well, ladies, enjoy the rest of it. Thank you so much. And if you don't mind, we're gonna be around here. I'm guessing you don't have any cards on you, but please pass and.
Where are you gonna be at?
We're just gonna be right out here. We'll probably be right in the cab for. So, the most important one is right here. We were actually invited in by Ron, so there's actually like 7 of us that we're out here all the time. They said, absolutely, 100%. And they invited us out to to assist. So someone is always here. If you guys ever have a
Usually
question,
every day we have somebody hanging out like internet cafe.
yeah,
Right there.
a couple hours a day, and instead of having just the same person coming out and doing the same thing over and over,
So there will like a little floating schedule, we just come in and hang out. We do our business, too. If you guys have questions, we'll be here for you.
Yeah. So, absolutely. You did absolutely. Please stop through, say hi. Tell us to get the hell out.
What, you want us to tell us to get out?
Yeah, I tell it to Tim all the time. Potatoes, cheesy potatoes.
They're
Yeah.
delicious.
Hey, Tom, you were talking about, I got the title.
Well, the 6 months after the